Am I the asshole for giving my girlfriend an ultimatum about her male best friend? So I, 28 male, have been dating my girlfriend Sarah, 26 female, for just over a year now. And while I love her, there's one thing that's been eating at me since the very beginning. Her relationship with her male best friend, Jake, 27 male. Jake has been Sarah's ride or die since college, and I knew from the start that they were close, but what I didn't realize was how much it would impact our relationship. I've always tried to be the chill, trusting boyfriend. I don't want to be the guy who's threatened by a platonic friendship, but honestly, it's gotten to the point where I feel like I'm the third wheel in my own relationship. Jake and Sarah are practically inseparable. They hang out multiple times a week, dinners, movie nights, spontaneous late-night drives, and I'm usually not even invited. If I try to join, it's awkward, like I'm crashing their private joke-filled world that I'm not a part of. It stings, but I tried to let it go for the sake of keeping the peace. But then things started to cross a line. Jake texts her constantly, even when they're together on dates. It's not just casual stuff either. He calls her babe and sweetheart, and when I brought this up to Sarah, she laughed and said that it was just their thing and that it didn't mean anything. Apparently they've been calling each other that for years, but to me, it feels like there's more to it. Who calls their best friend babe when they're in a relationship? Then there was the night that I stayed over at her place and woke up at 2 a.m. to find Sarah on FaceTime with Jake. She was giggling like a schoolgirl, whispering so she wouldn't wake me up. When I asked her about it the next morning, she brushed it off, saying Jake needed someone to talk to. But what about me? Am I just here as background noise while she stays emotionally tethered to this guy? The final straw came last weekend. Sarah and I had been planning a special weekend getaway for our 1-year anniversary, something we'd been looking forward to for months. But out of nowhere, Jake invites her to a concert the same weekend. Sarah asked me if we could postpone our anniversary trip so she could go with Jake instead, because it's a band that they both absolutely love. I was floored. Our anniversary, something we'd been planning for months, could just be rescheduled for Jake? It was like I didn't even matter. I told her that this was too much and asked her to set some clear boundaries with Jake. Like no more pet names, no more hanging out one-on-one all the time, and definitely no more prioritizing him over our relationship. She blew up at me, calling me controlling and insecure. She even said, "You knew that Jake was a part of my life when we started dating. Why are you trying to change me now?" Things got worse when Jake apparently told her that I was being toxic and trying to manipulate her. Sarah is siding with him, saying I'm overreacting and that nothing has ever happened between them. She's now furious with me for giving her an ultimatum when all I really asked for were some boundaries that would make me feel like I'm her boyfriend, not just a side character in her life with Jake. Now, Sarah's giving me the silent treatment, and I'm starting to feel like I've somehow become the villain in my own relationship. Am I losing my mind here? I'm not asking her to drop Jake completely, just to prioritize us and respect our relationship. But maybe I've been unreasonable. So Reddit, am I the asshole for asking my girlfriend to set boundaries with her male best friend? Or is this friendship way too close for comfort? In the comments, Iggy582 says, do everyone a favor and end this thing now. You will be doing Sarah a favor. She can have Jake. You will be doing Jake a favor. He can have Sarah. Most of all, though, you will be doing yourself a huge favor because you can find someone who sees you as her ride or die and someone who is actually loyal to you because, after all, loyalty is the single most important factor in friendship. Not being nice or liking the same things. Sarah does not believe that she needs to be loyal to you. You know how I know? We can only truly know what we believe versus what we think we believe by watching how we act. Her actions speak volumes. Not the asshole. First point, Jake can have an opinion, but that's not relevant to your relationship. Honestly, it sounds like they're dating. I think you giving an ultimatum was never going to end good for you. Honestly, you know he's her number one priority, even if she doesn't say it in words, she declares it in all of her actions. I think fundamentally, Jake is the third person in your relationship, and he will always win. If you can handle that, then stay. If not, go find your ride or die person. Life is too short to be uncomfortable and frustrated in your romantic relationship after a year. You are not losing your mind. Their friendship and connection is not a normal friendship behavior when you have a boyfriend. She doesn't prioritize you. She prioritizes him, and it's an old saying. You should not judge by their words, but look to their action. Her actions tell you clearly that you are not as important. So treat yourself right and leave her. You are not toxic, she is. I agree with that. Just look at any other normal relationship and how both people in those relationships are able to have clear, healthy, defined boundaries with friends and everyone else around them when it comes to showing respect to their partner. She is not able to do that, plain and simple, and she's treating Jake as if Jake is her boyfriend. And the more I read this entire post, it felt like I was hitting myself with a pan to the face. And I understand OP giving her all of these chances and being like, you know what, I'll respect it because I respect you as a person and I want to continue to make this relationship work. I will do anything to make this relationship work. That's fine. This is really weird, but if that's normal for you, I can put up with that. I'm glad that you're at least coming to the internet, OP, to be like, none of this was okay from the start. There were about 1,000 things that she has done previous to you making this post that were pretty much breakup worthy, honestly. But once again, glad you came to us to be like, hey, was her asking to postpone our 1-year anniversary like a deal breaker or not? Yes. Yes, it is a deal breaker. She is a bad person. Don't give her another chance. Let Jake have her. She has done you dirty. She has done you wrong thousands of times over in this situation. Please have a spine and put yourself first. It is okay to walk out. I give you permission to leave this loser girlfriend and her loser best friend. There is nothing wrong with having self-respect. There is nothing wrong with leaving losers to their loser relationship that they have together, because none of them respect you. Why continue to torture yourself? Just get it done with, please. Absolutely not the arsehole. And now, on to the update. Hey Reddit, I'm back with an update, and let me just say, it didn't turn out how I expected at all. I first want to thank you all for the amazing support you have all given me. After reading over the comments and talking to some of you guys, I've made up my mind. I was done being second place in my own relationship, and I was ready to walk away. But what happened next surprised me. On Saturday night, Sarah came over to talk. I was prepared to have the breakup conversation, but before I could get a word in, she told me something unexpected. She had cancelled the concert plans with Jake. She said that after our last conversation, she realized how serious I was, and it made her think about everything. She told me she had been selfish, that she had been taking our relationship for granted. She said she'd told Jake that she couldn't go to the concert, and instead, she wanted to spend the weekend with me, no distractions, no third wheels, just us. I was honestly shocked. Part of me didn't believe it. For months, I had been asking her to set boundaries with Jake, and suddenly she was doing it? It felt surreal, like a last-minute effort to save something that was already broken. But she seemed sincere. She apologized, not just for the concert situation, but for all the times she had ignored my feelings, dismissed my concerns, and prioritized Jake over us. She admitted that she had been blind to how much it hurt me and said she didn't want to lose me. It was emotional. She was crying, and I could see how much it scared her that I was about to walk away. For the first time in a long time, it felt like she was choosing me. But here's the thing. As much as I appreciated her apology, it didn't magically fix everything. I told her that while cancelling the concert was a good step, it didn't erase all the hurt. I still felt like I'd been competing with Jake for too long, and trust once broken is hard to rebuild. We ended up spending the weekend together as planned. We didn't go on the big anniversary trip, but we stayed in, cooked together, and had long conversations about everything. Our relationship, Jake, and the future. It was a roller coaster of emotions. There were moments where I felt like maybe we could make this work, but also moments where the damage felt too deep to repair. By today, I was emotionally drained. Sarah seemed to think that things were heading in the right direction, but I still wasn't sure. I needed space to think. So I told her that we should take a break, give each other some time to reflect, and see if this relationship was something that we both wanted to fight for. She didn't take it well. She cried again, begged me not to go, said that she'd prove to me that she was serious about changing, but I needed to be alone, to clear my head without the constant push and pull of emotions. So I left. I haven't spoken to her since. We agreed to give it a couple of weeks before we decide anything, but to be honest, I'm still leaning towards ending things for good. Could she have really set boundaries with Jake after everything? I find this hard to believe after months of me begging. I feel like I've already checked out of the relationship, and while her efforts are appreciated, I can't shake the feeling that it's too little too late. I'll always care about Sarah, but this whole situation has made me realize how important it is to be with someone who values and respects you from the beginning. Someone who doesn't make you feel like you have to compete for their attention. You all think she might have cheated on me with Jake, so Reddit, I ask, should I give her another chance or should I go through with the breakup? In the comments, Barkley Kraken says, sounds like she found your Reddit to me. Either that, or Jake the Snake made a move on her when he felt he had convinced her that OP is toxic. Should you give her another chance or should you walk away? It's a question only you could answer. What is your gut telling you? Do you feel she was being sincere? Did you ask her if she cheated on you with Jake? What I'm also curious about is what happened between her and Jake after your last discussion. I don't mean did they have sex. No, I mean did they talk about the situation? Did he shoot his shot to win her over and she rejected him and maybe see the situation for what it is? Some suggested that maybe she wanted to have a relationship with him, but he refuses to settle down. I reread the original post. Talking to him at 2 a.m. in the morning while you're asleep, late night drives, going to dinners and movies, while she's in a relationship with you? That's really weird and very suspicious. I'm curious, did she come over on her own accord, or did you ask her to come over to talk? If she came on her own, that's a big plus. I think you have a good idea about breaking up. If it were me, I don't know. After the breakup, you have to see how you feel about her. Also, what happens to Jake in all of this? Is she going to part ways with him, or is he still going to be in the background? I think I would tell her that Jake has to go. Point out that he told her that you were being toxic and you don't trust him. And now, onto the latest update. Hey Reddit, it's been about 8 months since my last update. Honestly, I didn't ever plan on coming back to this. After everything happened, I kind of just wanted to forget about it. Plus, Sarah eventually found the post, so I stayed quiet. But at this point, I don't care who I piss off. I think I owe you guys the end of the story, plus a lot of you guys have been asking for an update, so here it is. So after my long post, we decided to go on a break. We had no contact for 2 weeks, and those 2 weeks messed with my head more than I expected. I didn't know what she was doing, who she was talking to, or where things stood. Eventually, I reached out and told her that I wanted to break up, and I thought I was ready. She broke down, cried, begged, told me she would cut off Jake for good, said she would block him, delete him, whatever it took. She told me she couldn't imagine her life without me and just wanted one more chance. And like an idiot, I gave it to her because I still loved her. This was the second person in my life that I could say that I truly loved. I didn't want to start over with someone new when I'd known her for so long. She wasn't just my partner, she was my best friend. I didn't want to lose what we had. At first, things were okay. She was more present, we spent more time together, and she tried harder, but it wasn't the same. I had this weird feeling in my gut that I couldn't trust her, even if I pretended to. I just couldn't forget everything that had happened, and I won't sit here and act like I was perfect either. When she was trying her hardest, I wasn't putting in the same effort. That hurt her. This went on for about 3 months. It started getting better, little by little. I thought we were making progress. I still wasn't all the way in, but I could finally say that I saw a future with her. But the thing that really bothered me? Jake. She did stay true to her word and unfollowed him when we first got back together. This was almost 4 months ago, but one day while I was at work, I was scrolling on Instagram and saw that they had followed each other again. I asked her about it, and she said it didn't mean anything, that they weren't talking. I let it go. Maybe I didn't want to know the truth. Fast forward a few weeks, we were at my place, and she had fallen asleep first. That's when I saw an Instagram notification. I couldn't open it, I didn't know her password, and I wasn't about to try and scan her face while she slept, so I ignored it. I couldn't sleep. I was restless, but I told myself I was overthinking and I wanted to trust her. Fast forward another week. We went on vacation and were staying at a hotel. She asked me to grab something from the car, but the hotel room key was on her phone, so she handed it to me. That's when my insecurities got the best of me and I snooped while walking to the car. That's when I saw it, and honestly, I felt nauseous. DMs from Jake. Not just old ones, recent. Some unanswered, but some she did reply to. Messages about how she couldn't stand being apart from him, how it killed her to block him, how she missed talking to him, how she wanted to see him again, and then the part that really broke me, how she had developed feelings for him but was scared to leave me because then it wouldn't be Jake and OP, it would just be Jake. She talked about how she didn't want to lose the both of us. She had even seen him behind my back. When she said she was going to the gym, she was going to his place. I came back to the room and I didn't say anything. I lay in bed, numb. She eventually got up to take a shower, and while she was in there, she texted me asking me if I went through her phone. At first I lied, but then she said she opened Instagram and it was still on her DMs with Jake, something she didn't leave open. So I admitted it. I told her that I read everything and couldn't believe that she lied to me again. Her response? You weren't supposed to see that. I completely lost it. She tried playing the victim card, telling me that I broke her trust by going through her phone and that I wasn't supposed to read what she told Jake, like I was the bad guy in this situation. That was it for me. I didn't ask for explanations. I didn't want to hear any more lies. I shut down completely. I stopped texting her and only spoke when necessary for the rest of the trip. We had driven 6 hours from our hometown to visit some friends, so I couldn't just leave. We acted normal in front of our friends until it was time to go. The 6-hour drive home? Complete silence. I drove most of the way and didn't say a word. When I dropped her off at her place, she tried to talk to me, even tried to kiss me goodbye. I pushed her away and asked her to get out of the car. Later that night, I texted her that I was done, I didn't want to talk anymore. She tried to explain, but at that point there was nothing left to say. I gave her so many chances, and she still chose to lie. Again, I don't know if anything sexual happened between them, and at this point, I don't care anymore. What I do know is that I spent too long being second in a relationship where I should have been enough. So yeah, I'm single now. It hurts, obviously, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can finally breathe again. Thanks to everyone who gave it to me straight in the comments all those months ago, but also to those who told me to give her another chance. It hurt, but I grew and matured from this. In the comments, Realities says, "You dodged a bullet. Someone who lies that repeatedly and then tries to gaslight you for catching them, you weren't supposed to see that, was never going to change. You wasted way too much energy on someone who was never fully yours to begin with." And OP says, "That's exactly what I keep telling myself. I wasted so much time and energy. I'm just glad that I ended it sooner rather than later." Vandreeson says, "She was never going to put you first. She has or had no respect for you. If she did, she would have cut contact with him a long time ago. Then she sees him behind your back. It might suck now, but you're way better off and you deserve better. Now they can be together." Glittering Ware says, "Honestly, I feel for you, man. That gut feeling never lies. You gave her another chance and really tried, but she kept that connection behind your back. That's not love, that's emotional betrayal." And OP says, I agree. It felt like she was chasing after attention instead of something genuine. An exciting tabletop says, I've been in your shoes. I'm actually happy that I gave it a second chance because then I permanently knew. No second guessing, no what if. You'll never know why she made the choices she did, but it doesn't matter. It'll suck for a while, and then it'll get better. And that's fine. I respect OP for sticking it out and seeing if things would change, even though myself, in my heart of hearts, never for a second believed that she could or would be a better person to him in this situation. She definitely was going to his house and getting her back blown out by that guy. That is absolutely for sure. If your partner is going to someone's house behind your back that they know they shouldn't be going to, most likely their back is being blown 7 ways to Sunday, and that's just the goddamn truth. Thank you for at least sticking it out and giving it another try to see if things could get better. I do love to see some experimentation. Unfortunately, this one didn't work out, and it would have been better for you to leave after that first post, but I understand why you didn't, OP. No shame in that. Thank you for the story. I hope you find someone that deserves you, and I'll see you in the next update if there is another one. Thank you. Am I the arsehole for cancelling my wedding? My possibly soon-to-be ex, male 28, and I, female 25, were due to be married less than a week ago. We are very untraditional and spent the night before together, just talking and reminiscing on what got us to that point. I've always known that he's bi, and it's never been an issue. It's just who he is. We have a very close-knit group of friends, and he and his best friend grew up together and were one another's support system throughout university. He's been very open about all of this since I first met him. However, one thing I wasn't aware of is that they were involved, and that my possible ex is still in love with him, and the feeling is mutual. I asked him if he had cheated on me before, and he confessed to a few slip-ups, but he refused to go into detail. The morning of the wedding, I woke up feeling sick and just totally overwhelmed and stressed. I was questioning everything that has happened since we got together, and spoke to his best friend to confirm what I had been told, which he did after an attempt to lie. I've cancelled the wedding and told him that I need time to think, but I'm not sure I can get past the cheating. I feel emotionally shattered. It's only been a few days, but his family and mine keep calling me, trying to get me to feel guilty for my choice. We were paying for our wedding ourselves, and it was a small local affair, but I understand people might be disappointed that something they've waited for isn't going to happen, possibly ever. In the comments, do the families know why? Because if they're blaming you, it's time to set the record straight, pun intended. OP says, no they don't. I feel weird outing him, so to speak. I've been trying to figure out how to tell them without giving them all the details. I know it's odd, but I still feel like I owe him that, and I don't know why. Another commenter says, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or feels about it. This is your decision alone, and you shouldn't be guilted into doing so. It's wild that he hid that from you at all, but then to tell you on the night before your wedding? Be thankful this was before it was done so you can think about it before taking that plunge. DJohn109 says, I feel like he told OP because he didn't want to go through with it. Maybe to be with a friend or maybe to attempt to live in his truth? This is 100% what happened. Not only is he a cheater and a liar, but he's also a coward. Good for you, OP. It sucks and it hurts now, but you are worth so much more than this. Save your wedding day for someone who will treasure you. Alternatively, he may have wanted to use it as a gateway conversation to get her to agree to an open marriage or throuple relationship. I just am so uncomfortable with that. That is just not okay. We can speculate all we want on this, and I know a lot of people in the comments are so angry at speculation all the time, like, geez, sorry for spinning a narrative that may or may not be true. Assumptions make an ass out of you and me. I disagree. Assumptions are the backbone of society. The thing that's getting me is that OP doesn't want to out him as a cheater to everyone. Sure, I can understand that in the moment, but after I've processed that apprehension and like, ooh, it feels wrong to do that to him, I feel like I just get over that and be like, yeah, cancelling the wedding because he cheated on me. He admitted to it, slipping up, quote-unquote, multiple times with his best friend, who also supported the story. What else do you want me to say? I'm not going to marry someone like that. He's not the man I thought he was. That just gives everyone a pretty good idea of the person he is and the person this best friend is. And that kind of gets it off your back, and you will get the sympathy that you need to be able to process this and move on. I know that's an incredible simplification of a complex situation, but it feels like the right thing to do. To me, that is the morally correct thing to do in this situation. None of this is OP's fault. Why should she defend him still? And now, on to the update. I'm sorry it's taken a bit to update. I've been waiting for things to settle, and it's taken a while. When I wrote my post, I was emotionally wrecked and desperately in need of an outsider's perspective. I haven't answered every comment I got, but I've read them all, and I wanted to say thank you to everyone who took their time to reply. Most of the comments were very thoughtful and supportive, and I can't tell you how much that meant. On to the situation itself. I gave myself some time to get my head straight and get tested. Thankfully, I was given the all clear for my tests, so the next thing was to deal with everything. I invited my ex-fiancé and his best friend over for dinner. I know that sounds weird to do, but I thought I wanted to talk to them and do it in a scenario where we were all comfortable in, or as comfortable as we could be, and they agreed. Being able to observe the both of them through a new lens also really helped, and they're definitely in love with one another just by their mannerisms and the way they are when they think no one is looking. I wish I'd clocked on so much sooner. My ex kept apologizing, and the more he apologized, the more upset his best friend was getting, and the more he retracted that apology to the best friend. I told him it wasn't about apologies anymore. I just wanted to understand. What I think I've gathered from the whole thing is that, as many of you have pointed out, I've been an unsuspecting beard for our entire relationship. Granted, it seems to be unwittingly, but still. I think there's some deep homophobia running through my ex, as he reacted negatively when I asked if he thought perhaps he might be gay, not bi. And when his best friend tried to talk, he shut him down so fast, I actually felt a little bit bad for him, the bestie. I also found out where I thought he'd told his family he was bi. He wasn't actually. Some of our mutual close friends know, but that seems to be it. Nevertheless, my ex and I are not getting back together, the engagement is officially over, and I've swapped out my phone number to avoid some of the ridiculous texts I've been getting from various guests. To those who have asked, after discussing it with my ex, I've simply said that he's not who I thought he was, and left it at that. It's the truth without going into any details. It's up to him if he wants to stay in the closet, but I'm not getting involved any longer. I gave him back his engagement ring, and though he asked if we could keep in touch, I feel like it's done. His best friend also offered to pay for my wedding dress as an apology for his part in it. I declined, but the offer was still nice. I will be moving soon. I found a place, and I'm just waiting for the moving date, and I'm looking forward to starting fresh in a new home. I realized I couldn't be in that house, and wonder as I went round where my ex and his best friend had cheated on me, and analyzing every memory. It's been exhausting, and I'm still very much devastated, but I'm so glad that I went with my gut and cancelled the wedding when I did, because it would have been such a mistake to go ahead with it. I've gotten a therapist to help me, and I suggested, gently, that my ex and his best friend also get one. I don't know if they will, but I think it'd help the both of them. In the comments, I'm extremely sorry that you had to go through all of this. Your ex is in desperate need of therapy. I hope that you can find someone who actually understands you and himself and can love you with his whole heart. And if your ex's family pesters you, you can just direct them to him and block them. Good thing you're getting a new number. It'll help so that there are less people to annoy you. Sending you lots of internet hugs. OP says, "Thank you so much. It's been hard, I won't lie. I'm just so glad that I didn't give in to pressure and go ahead with the wedding." When asked did OP know if her ex's best friend was gay or bi, OP says, "I did know his best friend is gay, yes, but it never occurred to me that there was anything other than brotherly friendship between them, though looking back, they were and always have been very affectionate towards each other. though I dismissed it because the best friend is quite a touchy-feely person anyway. Another commenter says, "You did the right thing cancelling your wedding. As bad as this is now, going through a divorce years down the line would be even worse. Your ex needs therapy to figure out who and what he wants. You should 100% take up the offer of him paying you back. They both knowingly scammed the shit out of you. They had you contributing to a fake wedding that was a mask so they could continue to cheat in private while letting you fuck up your life in the process. They should both be paying you back every cent you spent, and frankly, paying you back for every gift you spent on everything they got out of you because they knew from day one what they were doing. He knowingly cheated on you from the start. He was with this guy from the start. He was using you from the start. He's caused you to lose money, and he has cost you time. He has cost you years of your life that have been basically wasted on being with him. The minimum they owe you is making you financially restored from anything you ever wasted on them. I feel like it would be fair for her to tell people she called it off after finding out that he cheated on her multiple occasions. Not the entire story, but entirely true, doesn't out anyone, and places a reasonable level of fault on her ex. High-key don't care that they're in love? Both dudes are shitty people for doing that to her. I understand the need to protect or hide yourself, but there are ways to do that and not hurt others. Dropping the bomb on her the night before the wedding, that was no longer about protecting himself. That was only about soothing his conscience. Hey, well, I did tell her before we got married, while placing her in an impossible position. Did anyone notice that it was the ex's boyfriend who offered to pay for her dress and actually take some responsibility, while the actual ex only went for thousands of apologies with some denial on the side? Okay, so my position is, don't out them to people, but definitely get justice, if not revenge, for what both of these people put you through. That's ridiculous. And not just ridiculous, that's evil. What they did to OP in this situation was evil, and she seems like a non-confrontational person that's like, you know what? They did me incredibly wrong in this situation. They only ruined my mental health, wasted years of my life, embarrassed me the day before my wedding, didn't offer to compensate me for all the damage they've done, and offered apologies, which they retracted. I'm just gonna let this one slide and move on, I guess. That's something that you can do, but this would fill my heart with hatred, and I would want to scorch both of their lives down to the ground. I understand people will process situations like these and deal with them in their own ways, but damn, I feel like those two didn't get what they deserved out of this. They actually just got everything they wanted and moved on without conflict. That's insane. It feels unfair, and it feels like OP had the opportunity to do something about it, but didn't. Not the asshole for what you've chosen to do, OP. I hope you find peace after all of this, and that you find someone that does value you and won't cheat on you for your entire relationship, then admit to that the night before your wedding, making you have to cancel your wedding and embarrass you in front of everyone that was coming there, and destroy your reputation, in a sense. That is a nightmare that you've had to deal with, and I hope you're able to process this one. Jesus Christ, good luck. And our next post is by user Minute Sand, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for locking my girlfriend out of the basement so I could eat in peace? I'm 39 and male. My girlfriend is 41. We've lived together for a bit over a year in my house. During the time that I have lived with my girlfriend, I've become very used to the fact that she really seems to de-stress by complaining. Much of this complaining is about other people in her life, such as her mother and her former co-workers. But much of this complaining is about me and how I'm not meeting her expectations in one way or another. I'm generally fine listening to her rant and will make all the appropriate motions to show that I'm listening, but a few months back, her complaining increased significantly in frequency. Again, I'm happy to listen to her, but the one time that I do not want to listen to complaining is when I'm eating. Breakfast time isn't an issue because she's still asleep when I eat it, and lunchtime is fine because I work 6 days a week and am out for lunch, but I would really love nothing more than to just have a quiet dinner. It's especially irritating because she gets upset when I don't answer her fast enough, even when I'm chewing. She'll start saying, hello? 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 Are you even listening? As I try to swallow the food quickly and answer her. I expressed this to her a few months back. I put it as nicely as possible, with the excuse that I didn't do well with talking during mealtime. If anything, it has had the opposite effect. I'm convinced that she's actually timing her complaints to begin when I start eating dinner now. While I'm making my dinner, she'll be quiet, and when I sit down waiting for it to be cool, she'll be quiet. But once the fork reaches my mouth, she'll immediately start complaining. Last Saturday, I told her that I couldn't deal with her complaining during dinner time anymore, and that if she did it again, I would start eating elsewhere. She responded, yeah, okay, fine. Then she sat down at the table and stared at me. When I took my first bite, she said, oh, by the way, today you kicked one of my shoes when you were putting yours on, and it made me feel like you only care about your own things and not mine. I stood up and went down to the basement to eat, locking the door behind me. I've been doing this every day since, and she'll bang on the door at times. At other times, she has demanded that I give her a key, as I have the only copy. Today, she was literally crying and begging me to eat dinner at the table, but I said no. Now she's threatening to take the door off the hinges while I'm at work, so I know I have to lock it from the outside before going tomorrow. Am I in the wrong here? In the comments, Lucky Guess asks, why are you with someone this miserable? I can't imagine listening to someone complain every mealtime, all day, every day. Are you really going to do this for the next 20 years or more? Yikes. Not the asshole. It's not about her being miserable, it's more about her engaging in emotional abuse. A partner who constantly complains and blames is abusive. I can completely understand someone might want to confront a partner for one reason or another at times, but the fact that she actually decided to go into a tirade about him accidentally kicking her shoe when he puts his own shoes on just shows that she'll complain about literally anything. There's also the fact that even after we asked her to stop for the short time it takes him to eat dinner, she completely ignored him and intentionally timed her complaining for when she knew he didn't want to listen to it. I can't understand why some people in this post seem to think that OP is wrong. I know this doesn't apply to you, but some people are suggesting that this is his fault. The man is in an abusive relationship. The time to leave was ages ago, but now is the second best time. When someone threatens to take a door off its hinges, the relationship is over. You locked her out of the basement. That's a good first step. Now do the same with the rest of your house. As you should, King. Get her out of there. Another one of those situations where I'm like, I understand that you have had the patience of a saint or patience of whatever it is that will stay in a situation like that for long enough. But you need some brothers around you. You need some bros. You need friends that you can vent your frustrations about this situation that you're in, and have a community that will be like, that woman is crazy. She's not good for you. You're a 39-year-old man. We are here for you. We support you, but a 39-year-old man at this point in his life should know what is and isn't acceptable in his house, in his relationship, in his life. I'm not blaming you at all, OP. I'm just saying, why did it have to get to this point? Having a community and your own sense of self in situations like this will get someone this unstable and this insane out of your life before it gets to this point. Way before it gets to this point. Please stop putting your dick in crazy. She is every kind of crazy mixed into one and then some. I wonder if she dialed up the abuse after she was able to get into your house and then normalize it, because that's what it seems like happened here. And yeah, sometimes it has to get to a boiling point before you realize just how crazy someone is. Glad that you can bring some spicy goss like this, but my god, people like her are exhausting, starting to just threaten you after you set reasonable and healthy boundaries that can calm tensions without it turning into a fight, and they just cannot deal with that. They will not let you have any boundaries. Get her out of there. Get rid of her. She's not worth the breath that she breathes. She's not worth the hinges on that door that she's gonna bust down. Is the message coming through? And now, onto the update. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up the way that it did. I posted honestly, just needing a sanity check, and I got thousands of comments, some incredibly supportive, others brutally honest, and a few that hit me harder than I expected. Thank you to everyone who responded. Seriously. A lot has happened since the post. First, yes, I did go ahead and lock the basement door from the outside before going to work. I wasn't proud of that move. I'm proud of you, OP. But I was feeling cornered and honestly just tired. I came home and I found that she had removed the hinges from the interior side while I was gone. The door was off and leaning against the wall. That was a moment. She wasn't yelling. She was sitting on the couch, visibly upset, and just said, "So this is where we're at now, huh?" We had the longest, rawest conversation we've ever had that night. She admitted that she had started using dinner as her emotional dumping ground because she knew that it would get my attention, and she felt like the only time I slowed down enough to be with her, quote-unquote, was when I was eating. Her words. She is crazy! That is so crazy to say that. Shut up! She also admitted that my request to stop complaining during dinner made her feel like I was putting a timer on her feelings. I told her that I wasn't asking her to be silent, just a break from the emotionally heavy stuff while I was trying to decompress from my own day. There were a few tears on both sides. I told her that I love her, but I can't live in a state of constant emotional defense, especially not over dinner. I also said that the shoe comment right after our talk was weaponized pettiness, and that it was cruel. We agreed to try something new. Now we do venting hour after dinner. Literally. I even set a little timer, which was her suggestion, not mine. Dinner is for unwinding and connecting, or even sitting in comfortable silence. After that, if she still needs to unload, I give her my full attention and she gets to talk freely. So far, it's been a surprising success. It's not perfect. Some nights are awkward, but the basement is just a basement again, and the door is back where it belongs. We're also looking into couples therapy, not because we're failing, but because we finally agreed that it's okay to get help before things fall apart. Thank you again to everyone who responded. Even the tough comments helped me realize that choosing peace for yourself isn't immature sometimes. It's the most adult thing that you can do. In the comments, Dana07620 says, "Believe me, from experience, you're going to get tired of her spending an entire hour complaining and talking only about herself quicker than you think you will. The only way that venting hour will work is if it's a venting hour for the both of you." What does she have to vent about for an hour every day? She needs to look at her life and make some changes if this is the norm. Not the asshole. I would dump her. Someone trauma dumping on you every day is toxic as hell. Venting hour is a new one for me. Being with someone who constantly complains is the most toxic, soul-draining shit on earth. I've been there, done that, became president of livingwithatoxiccomplainer.org. Just kidding. OP's girlfriend needs therapy because an hour every night is not normal. It's not constantly. She timed it specifically for when OP asked her not to, and then asked as if OP made her do it because it was the only way to get his attention. If for some reason I lasted as long as he did, I would have been done when she took the door off the hinges. I seriously don't know how you come back from that. Next time they get in a disagreement, is she going to take the wheels off his car? Like, what the hell? The normal behavior line is so far behind her, it's in another continent. I cannot for the life of me imagine being willing to sit and listen to my life partner vent about me for an hour every single night, let alone be willing to stay with someone after the unhinged act of removing the door to the only safe space I felt I had. It is abusive and controlling, plain and simple. Oh yeah, she's totally abusive and controlling, and I hope that OP is guided to that truth in therapy. Abusers are fond of telling victims that they made them abuse them, just like OP made her vent specifically at dinner because he asked her not to, and made her take the door off the hinges. I'm so incredibly frustrated at OP in this situation. I wish I was in his life so I could slap him and say, none of this is normal. She is not normal. She is not good for you. She has successfully love-bombed you in this instance and pulled back her craziness and gotten you to accept more abuse. That is all that is happening because it looks like it is incredibly one-sided and you don't get a voice in this. And she also gets to vent more after the venting hour. Your mental health is going to implode if you continue this charade that she is someone that you can have a future with. None of this is okay. She is incredibly mentally unwell. She is incredibly mentally abusive, and she is not someone that you need to be with, OP. Stop it right now. Cut this off. Get her out of your life. What is wrong with you? Stop doing this. And thank you for the entertaining story, OP. My jimmies are significantly rustled. This was quite the roller coaster of emotions. So, once again, thank you and good luck. You of all people need it. Good luck, OP. I wish you nothing but the best in the future of this relationship. Am I the asshole here for secretly cheating on our vegetarian diet that my wife made our family do? I want to start by saying I, 38 male, love my family and my wife, 35 female, and I've never been the type to do anything like this before. That's what they all say, buddy. 12 months ago, my wife converted to a new religion, which included her giving up eating meat. The whole family, me and our 2 young boys, were supportive of this, and we held a vegetarian-only dinner that night as a little sign of support. Life continues for another around 8 months, basically unchanged. The boys and I eat meat, and my wife doesn't. However, things start to change around that 8 to 10 month mark. I can't remember exactly. Basically, along with not eating meat, my wife now no longer wanted to be around it. This wasn't the only thing. Things continued to progress. Basically, my wife started to replace things in the house with substitutes. First, the pork in the house was swapped out for jackfruit. Eggs were swapped out for substitutes like Just Egg. Shirts were only bought from clean brands like plant-based clothing, and deodorants were swapped out for deodorant pills like Go Scentless. You get the idea. To say this was creating a rift would be an understatement, and eventually I brought up to our wife that again, while we 100% support her in her decisions around these things, I didn't think that it should change things for the boys and me, unless of course they wanted it. Wait, who's our wife? What? Wife argued that her values have changed and that being around some of this stuff was really hard for her and wanted us to support her. For the next 2 to 3 months, the house was a place of pretty high tension. It had gotten so bad that the boys have friends bringing the meat from their houses since it was now completely gone from ours. Anyway, about a week ago, my wife went away on a few days long business trip, meaning I was watching the boys Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Basically, and I'm a bit ashamed to type this out, the boys and I mostly ate meat basically every chance we got. This was all fine and dandy. The boys and I had a great time, until my wife returned home and it somehow slipped out what we had done. I have never seen her so disappointed in us. After putting the boys to bed, we argued for hours about how I was setting a poor example for the boys, that I should respect the decisions made by my wife, even if they are tough and inconvenient. It's hard to argue back, because I can see her side, but it boils down simply to just I don't want to be vegetarian and vegan, and neither do the boys. Am I the arsehole here? In the comments, Wary Scientist says, not the arsehole. She said she got rid of it because she couldn't be around it. Well, she wasn't around it. Also, you guys did not convert to her religion, so she can't expect that you follow it. I'm not really sure what the problem is when she wasn't home. Agree. I think if she cooks meals for the whole family, then they are leaving the menu planning up to her. However, she was not home at that time. What the hell religion is this, by the way? Changing their shirts and deodorant? Sounds like a cult. Not the asshole. Your wife is the asshole for forcing her family to follow the same beliefs as she does. You can't control what other people do around you. This should be a unanimous decision between the two of you, and your kids are old enough to choose for themselves. Completely agree with that. There are no unanimous decisions. It is a 2 yes, 1 no situation. For me personally, I don't care if our wife, quote unquote, in this situation, wanted everything to change. If it's not a 2 yes, then it's a no. We can discuss this. We can find a suitable middle ground in this arrangement that is comfortable for everyone, but you're not going to go around making demands like that. That is ludicrous. And I'm not OP. I've not dealt with situations like this before, but I do think it's insane that he allowed it to go this far. It seems like he just didn't want the confrontation. He just didn't want the fight. So he allowed her to dominate the entire family, and she created an environment that everyone hated. She herself wasn't even happy with it because they played by her rules, they had meat when she's gone, and that's not enough either. There is something seriously wrong with her being so dominating and not allowing others to do what they want in that household. But at the same time, there is less blame on OP, but there is still some, for him allowing it to go this far, recognizing that that's not a healthy relationship dynamic and that he should have put further solid boundaries in place. Both of these people have let their children down, her much more so, but I don't think it's impossible to come back from this, and I don't think OP is the asshole for secretly cheating on the vegetarian diet. I think he needs to grow a backbone and start putting in healthy boundaries that undo a lot of the damage that she has caused. Otherwise, it might be time to say goodbye to our wife if she refuses to see reason. And now, on to the update. I want to thank everyone again for your help. My wife and I sat down and read through most of the top ones, and it helped her see some of the stuff that we were dealing with. After my/our post went crazy, me and the wife basically sat down and tried to talk everything out, using the comments as a guide. Some were pretty mean though. After hours and hours of debating, and about a week of going back and forth, the final place that we came to is somewhat hard to put into written words, but basically, the boys should be able to live how they want, as they didn't make a decision to be a part of this family. But me, have chosen to be a part of this family, and be with my wife. And if I can't meet my wife in her values, I should decide if I actually want to continue to be a part of this family. So basically, the boys are off the hook until they get a bit older and are able to make decisions at this level on their own, but in order to continue being with my wife, I need to sacrifice and meet her where her values are. I know Reddit doesn't want to hear this, but I'm willing to make a sacrifice like this to 1, keep my family together, and 2, allow the boys to have their freedom. When I wrote the original post, all I cared about was my boys' ability to choose their own lifestyle, whether that be the one we have or some crazy lifestyle that they want. And I think I've gotten us to that place now. I don't use Reddit much, but I'll check back within a month or 2 and let everyone know how we're doing. But I think we've finally found a path forward. Am I the asshole here for sacrificing at this level to keep my family together? In the comments, Cthulhu LaRue says, "Not the asshole for making the sacrifice, but this is the slope that you're starting on. She's going to need you to keep meeting her values. You say, I've chosen to be a part of this family and be with my wife, and if I can't meet my wife and her values, I should decide if I actually want to continue to be a part of this family. This argument is faulty. You didn't choose to be part of this family. You made this family with her on terms that you both agreed on. She unilaterally changed some of those terms and expects you to still abide by your original terms. That's bullshit. You need to renegotiate, if anything. As for you choosing to be a part of the family, so did she. If her values aren't the same as yours, then she's the one choosing not to be in this relationship. Dude, you just let her gaslight you into thinking you're responsible for failing the relationship. You're the asshole for sucking everything down. Also, I read this as basically saying the boys will be required to decide if they want to continue to be a part of the family too when they get a bit older. All Dad has done here at best is defer the situation for his son for a few years. I don't see any way this doesn't end in divorce. He's either getting divorced now or going to let the resentment build until he snaps and then gets a divorce. This will be one of those divorces that happens when the last kid graduates high school. Oh god, those are the worst. My friend's parents did that and he knew they hated each other. He actually threw an about effing time party because he was so sick of the obvious tension. They were Pikachu's shocked face, he knew. I refuse to believe that people are such master manipulators that they can gaslight you into situations like this. Like, man, that is such broken, flawed logic that she used on him, and he just took it hook, line, and sinker, didn't even question her on it. It looks like, yeah, you know what? Let's let the boys be forced into this stupid cult ideology in the future as well, and make them choose either doing it or cutting you out of their life completely. That's a normal thing that everyone does. Wow. Thank you, wife, for being the voice of reason in this situation, and now I either have to divorce you or join the cult as well. Wow, this is an incredibly normal and cool thing that I'm willing to accept and not point out. And I agree. Yeah, I'm the one that broke the agreement that we started this relationship on. Yes, I am the asshole. Not you, continuously moving the goalposts and striking everyone over the head for not following you every time you move a goalpost. No, you, wife, are the normal person here. It just infuriates me that situations like this continue to happen. I feel like we need to hand people like a guidebook of some sort to be like, here is what normal relationships look like. Here is what normal behavior looks like. If they stray from this path, they better have damn good reason for that. And if they don't have damn good reason for it, you call that bullshit out to its face and you leave if the bullshit doesn't change. Like, at this point, she's lost her goddamn mind. Divorce that woman. Divorce her. Get away from it. Whoever she was before is gone. There is no reason to stay in this relationship, and don't subject your children to it. Get the hell out of Dodge and stay away from her. Our next post is by user 10-Year Perspective, and it's titled, My 35 female, husband 36 male, is burned out and can't work in his normally high-paying field. I'm resenting having to go back to work to support us. Help. This is part genuine request for perspective and opinions, and part getting it off my chest. To sum up, my husband and I have been married for 10 years. We have a good marriage and have never faced any truly difficult times. It'll be difficult to explain everything that goes into this, but I'm happy to expound in the comments. Basically, the last decade has largely been focused on achieving financial independence. I had never been a very business-oriented person until I met my husband. He's extremely entrepreneurial, and his passion for it is catching. We have run our own businesses together and separately throughout our marriage. The goal has always been to make enough money on location-independent businesses so that we can live freely. Not necessarily retire, but have more freedom. And because of his encouragement, I'm now on a career path that could easily result in that. In 10 years, we have moved 25 times, all because better opportunities have presented themselves or current opportunities have dried up. We are now facing number 26, with number 27 not far away, because number 26 doesn't look like that good of a prospect. Without giving away details, my business fluctuates greatly. I've had months where I pull in mid-5 figures and long stretches of a few hundred. My career outside of this is food service with a very definite wage ceiling. My husband's career, quote-unquote, is professional, and he can easily find a 6-figure salary position. His current online business currently brings in low 4 figures. We have always relied on his going back to work when money runs low. He's in high demand. He can practically snap his fingers and get a job, but I cannot. Here's the conflict, and where I'll try to eliminate as much of my bias as possible. My husband is completely burnt out. He physically and emotionally can't deal with the stress of going to work right now. He has supported me through the last couple of years when my income has been low. I've always been aware of my financial contribution and make up for it by carrying the grand majority of the household chores, even when I was working 60-plus hours as a manager and pulling in half of his wage. But as our savings are dwindling, it's looking more and more like I'll have to get a job. That means pushing my business to the back burner, working a physically demanding job, all for a quarter of the pay that he could get. I'm not one to spend money. We didn't have a wedding. We bought my wedding band 3 years after we got married. I cut my own hair. I work from home in sweatpants. It's not as though I've forced him to work jobs that he hates in order to provide me with an extravagant lifestyle. I've worked shit jobs to help provide for us in the past, and even when my business isn't earning a ton, I still put in 50+ hours a week. I'm craving stability. Not performance, just the feeling that I can unpack our boxes and not feel like I should save them in a closet, knowing that in 6 to 9 months, I'll need them again. We've been child-free for years, but the last couple years, the topic has been coming up more and more. Yet I feel it's impossible to even discuss the idea of starting a family in the face of such uncertainty. I miss my cats. They're living with my parents overseas. I want a fish tank and a place to hang pictures. He says, if you want those things, then make them happen. Which, fair enough. I completely agree with. I don't want to rely on him to provide the life that I want. However, it leaves me feeling a combination of emotions I can't really put a word to. I find myself going through mental exercises of, what would I do in this situation if I were single? How would I support myself? And I start to feel resentful. I'm not single, I'm married. And not only that, I'm not sure I can make enough money to support us. I desperately want him to find what it is he's meant to do. I don't care about the money or the dreams of financial independence if it means he's miserable trying to get there. He's been trying to work out which direction to change to for the past year and has yet to come up with anything solid. I know it's all about give and take, but I can't help but feel, I don't know, I don't have the words, and I'm at a complete loss as to how we resolve this. By the way, we've talked about all of this almost 2,000 times already. There is nothing written here he hasn't heard before. Edit. I appreciate all the comments and opinions. This got a lot more response than I expected. Just a few things. It's difficult to sum up an entire life in a few hundred words. The moves have been for varied, and obviously with 25 of them, multiple reasons. Some were because my husband was offered a good job, others were to be nearer family. I've been pursuing my side business for the last 3.5 years. The 7 prior to that, I was in full-time employment, sometimes working a full-time job, while also helping to run our own business. He has not financially supported me for 10 years. I'm not sure where people got MLM from, but I'm in a creative field. As I said, I don't want to reveal details, but I create products and then sell them online. We are not scam artists, nor do we leave town because people are catching on to our pyramid scheme. As far as financials go, again, it's impossible to sum up 10 years of income, but we go through feast and famine periods, times when money is flowing in, and times when we live off what we've earned. We never live outside our means, and when money is good, we put thousands a month away to prepare for the downtimes. It's not a typical way of living, so I understand that it's not easily relatable. In the comments, it sounds like he is finally burnt out from being the one in the relationship to be the financial rock. That is exhausting after a while. It's great that it's allowed you the freedom to try your own hand at a myriad of other things, but it's put a lot of pressure on him. Quote, "It looks like I'll have to put my business on hold and go back to work." That is a very telling statement. Your business hasn't provided the work that you need to contribute equally. His has. It looks like it's time for you to step up and do the work, and not the business for now. I think you need to just suck it up and work for now and get him into counseling. Then you two really need to sit down and figure out a different way to live. You've tried this path for 10 years and it's not working. You need to figure out a way to have stability as a couple that doesn't burn one or the other of you out. See a career counselor and a financial counselor. And OP got downvoted and said, "I readily hold my hands up and say I have a spoiled streak." I guess it would be a lot easier for me to accept going back to work if he had an idea, an inkling, of what his next steps would be. But maybe that's just it. His job right now is to get better. OP clarifies again. I know it isn't clear in my original post, but it's not like I'm sitting around doing nothing all day. I easily put in more work on my business than he does on his, plus take care of the domestic stuff. I'd like to think that there is more to the balance of a relationship than financial contribution. And there have been times that I have financially supported us. It hasn't always been one-sided. I work hard to try and change it, but I guess the reality is, it isn't changing right away. Another commenter says, So, you both have entrepreneurial side businesses and full-time jobs, plus moving every 3 to 6 months for the last 10 years? That would burn anybody out. I know financial independence is a dream, but it seems like if you both put down roots, maybe for a specified time like 4 years, and found stability, burnout wouldn't be a factor. Financially and emotionally, starting over takes a toll. And OP replies, we go back and forth when it comes to the full-time employment. Because of his high salary and short lifespan when working, it's been more like 6 months on, several months off, but there is always a side business. Always, lol. On OP's savings, OP clarifies, when I say savings are dwindling, there is a lump of money in the savings account that we never, ever touch and treat as the rock bottom. We never get close to that amount, so in my mind, what we have to live off in savings is running out. When we budget, we don't feel like we're doing well unless we're able to put money away at the end of the month. After 10 years of working, we are definitely not where either of us would like to be. That's not to say the experiences and ups and downs weren't worth it. I honestly don't think it's in my husband to buckle down with a 9-to-5 job and squirrel away money for retirement. I've always been happy to help him pursue his goals of owning and running his own businesses because I have faith in him. It's clear after talking through this on here, we're at a fork in the road. From my perspective, in the way that OP has given us this information, this reads like the good times happen when he's working and has full-time employment, and then things crash when he's not in full-time employment. And it's just been like a cycle of that, as well as moving every 3 to 6 months for 10 years. It's obvious that this has run its course to me. I don't think this is a sustainable dynamic for the both of them to continue. Something needs to change in that relationship, or he's never going to bounce back, and they're going to hit that rock bottom cash pile, and that is going to dry up. I think it's really weird that she would say, I would be happy with the dynamic if I knew there was an end goal for when he's going to get his ass back to work. That's how I read that statement. It's more like, well, I have to know he's getting back to work eventually and the burnout is going to end. Oh my god. Honey, that's not how burnout works. He may never be able to come back to full-time work again, depending on his mental state and his physical state, when the time ever comes, if it does. I say, get your ass some stability, get back to a place where you can start laying down those roots like you want, and figure your life out together. This is not okay. And now, onto the update post 1. So I'm writing partly to sort all this out of my head, and partly for outside perspectives. I don't even know what to think anymore. Again, I'm happy to explain any details that need fleshing out, if it helps. I'll try to be concise, and I truly appreciate your reading. 9 months ago, I posted asking for help about my frustration with going back to work after my husband burned out in his career. Previous post in my history. For the sake of anonymity, I tried to be vague with the details, and many thought that our work was on the dodgy side. I don't care about keeping it anonymous. All these factors are relevant. I'm an author. I self-publish books and made a decent living doing it for several years. My husband is a software developer and mainly buys existing online companies and fixes them up to sell. When that's not working, he tries to work a normal 9-to-5, but typically lasts no more than 6 months. His last attempt was 1 day. My career before this was in the food industry, which means crap pay, long hours, and very sore feet. I got a job that pays 95% of the bills. The rest is covered by savings. Yeah, I'd rather be working for myself, but I like it. I'm good at it. It's the first time I actually enjoy going to work. For the last few months, I've been slowly changing, and it feels like my husband and I are drifting apart. At first, I thought it was a natural phase. Things will definitely feel different compared to working under the same roof all day and night, but now, I don't know. From the previous thread, he says if you want those things, then make them happen. Which, fair enough, I completely agree with. I don't want to rely on him to provide the life I want. However, it leaves me feeling a combination of emotions I can't really put a word to. I find myself going through mental exercises of what would I do in this situation if I was single, how would I support myself, and I start to feel resentful. I'm not single, I'm married, and not only that, I'm not sure I can make enough money to support both of us. I am making enough money to support us, and it feels good. It's given me confidence in a way that I haven't had before, but it's also made something glaringly obvious in our relationship. We disagree on just about everything, and we have very little in common. I'm happy to work on my writing on the side while I work. He thinks I've given up on our dream and have settled for a world that he is loath to spend time in, the 9-to-5, Monday to Friday world. He sold his business and is still figuring out what he wants to do next. I want to buy a flat in the city. He wants to move to the country or use our savings to travel or live remotely. I want to settle for a while and make friends. He thinks there's plenty of time for that in the future. I want to make our home cozy and put up decorations like photos and artwork, and while he likes it, he thinks of it all as just pointless stuff that we shouldn't waste money on. I could go on, but you get it. It feels like literally everything I like, he hates. I've realized that most of the moves, most of the big decisions, were things I went along with. I'm not saying he bullied me or anything, just that I didn't feel too strongly one way or the other, so I tended to go with what he wanted. Of course, we talked about it, but it rarely was me pulling in the bulk of the income, so I didn't feel like I had much of a say. Now I feel strongly about a life direction, and have the ability to make it happen, and I feel guilty? He says I've changed, that he's the same as he's been, wants the same things he's always wanted, that this is me altering the situation, which I agree with. But it's not like it's this massive bait-and-switch plan. Our entire marriage, I've talked about settling down. I'm rambling. Here's the way that I see it. We both love each other and genuinely want to make the other happy, which is why over 10 years, we've both compromised on choices that go against what we individually want. He goes to work for a little while so that I can have a semi-stable home. I bounce around the world with him so he can discover himself and his career. But our tolerance for those periods have become too short to manage. He physically can't work for another person. I want to scream when I think about packing up my stuff and starting over again. Have we just spent so much time of our marriage being distracted by the exciting newness of moving and pushing for financial independence that we didn't notice how little we have in common otherwise? I can't help but feel like this is on me. Not my fault per se, but it's on my shoulders. I'm the one rocking the status quo, and if I want things to balance out, it's up to me to adjust my expectations. In the comments, quoting some of OP's post, they say, "These seem like fundamental incompatibilities." And OP says, "They really do, don't they?" They do, love. This is a really unconventional way to look at it, but if you met your husband now as a new relationship, would you be excited about the guy? Interested? Would he make you laugh and make your coffee just the way you like it? I'm not saying that we should all hold our partners to the standards of the honeymoon stage of a relationship, but we should be in a relationship where we at least are attracted to each other and have basic values and preferences that are compatible. P.S. I think it's really cool that you have a job that you enjoy and you're a writer. OP says, "Thank you. I consider myself incredibly lucky to have both. I've often posed your question to myself. Would we get together now as a new relationship? I think I would still adore his passions and perspectives on life. They're intoxicating. He's a sweet guy, always looking out for me, and remembers the little things that I like. He has a habit of giving me a kiss when he leaves the room, even if he's just going away for a half hour. Obviously, I could go on. I really think we need to go talk to someone professionally. Thank you for reading. Hug." And now, onto the second update, posted 6.5 years later, more than 7 from the original post. I was recently cleaning out my bookmarks, and I found this old throwaway, and obviously the 2 posts that I made with it. I'm not sure why now, but I feel compelled to write a follow-up. Maybe it'll give people the bravery to change, or at least an example of how sticking with what you know isn't always the best choice. An obviously very long story short, With the help of those posts and a lot of long nights of thinking, I left my husband. In fact, it took him going away for a long weekend to realize how much happier and at peace I felt without him around. At first, the split was amicable, but looking back, I think he was just waiting for me to come rushing back to him once I realized my mistake. When that didn't happen, and he could see that I was actually serious about building a new life for myself, a switch flipped. We only spoke when he needed something from me, and eventually that stopped too. Enough about him. I'm now 42, happier and healthier and more satisfied than I've been my whole life. I picked me, and that was the best choice I could have ever made. I lived alone for the first time, and my God, the peace of having my own space, unrivaled. I ended up staying in that apartment for 5 years, not a moving box in sight. I put art on the walls. I knew my neighbors. I made a home. I grew my career and went back to school. I made friends and I built a little community. I've done a ton of therapy, and I realized that the abusive patterns my parents created in my childhood were just repeating with my ex. I fell in love, a real love, a supportive love that encourages growth and security. I'm doing new work that helps people and is so much more than just chasing money. All of those things have created a life that is more rewarding than I ever thought possible for myself. I've gone through some really shitty times too. Illness, cancer scares, deaths, loss, but I have no idea how I would have come out the other side without the community that I'd built around me. Even something as simple as people at your local coffee shop recognizing you is a comfort after feeling adrift and alone for so long. Anyway, if I were to respond to myself from 7 years ago, this is what I would say. Leave the loser. He doesn't care about you. He never did. He only cares about what you can do for him, and now that you aren't serving him, well, just go. You are capable of doing difficult things, and you are worthy of the work that it takes to accomplish them. Trust your abilities, trust your gut. It's been screaming at you for years now, honey. Life can be so much more than you've experienced, but you have to make it happen for yourself. In the comments, Engineering Queen says, I was expecting something like he was an on-site construction project manager, so they had to move for every building he worked on. I was not expecting that he was a software developer who hated work. I could tell in the first post that she was being delusional about just how financially independent they were. They worked 3 times as hard to stay afloat rather than putting in 40 hours a week and getting some breathing room. I was genuinely surprised that he was a software developer and they weren't, well, more afloat, or at least able to do the work remotely so they could settle for several years in some cheap cost of living city or country. 26 moves in 10 years seems abnormally high given the main income earners' work. Yeah, there were just so many glaringly obvious red flags, I want to say, that if you had a good support network around you, I would hope those people in your life go, hey, this is insane. None of this is normal, and you are burning yourselves out for no good reason other than keeping this man happy, fulfilling whatever desire and fantasy he wants. And he is being enabled by you, and you are also being enabled by him, and this is a toxic, cyclical dynamic that can never end well. Please step back for a second and realize how harmful this is for the both of you. I trust that I have a support network in my life that can and will help me out when a situation like this arises, but it makes sense that in OP's childhood, she was conditioned to accept things like this, and it kind of became normalized for her, so that no big relationship problems in her mind happened until that impasse they found themselves at. When I think people that haven't experienced the kind of conditioning that she has would see this from the onset and be like, no, this in itself, moving and doing this and chasing money, that's a relationship challenge. This is not acceptable. I want a stable and happy life with friends and people that I love and cherish. I don't want to be bouncing around the world constantly for no good reason. I'm glad that OP got out of there. I do hope that this is a cautionary tale for anyone that could potentially be in a similar situation to OP's. I hope that love does not find you, and if it does, I hope you get out of there. Otherwise, thank you for the story, OP, and I'm glad that you came back to update us all these years later. Am I the asshole here for not letting my dad walk me down the aisle after he cheated on my mum? I'm getting married in a few months. Planning has been mostly smooth, except for one really emotional decision that I made. I told my dad he won't be walking me down the aisle, and now it feels like half the family thinks I've declared war. For some context, my parents were married for over 25 years. When I was 22, my dad cheated on my mum with a woman from his office, someone only a few years older than me. He didn't confess. My mum found out after seeing some sketchy messages on the iPad they shared. Everything blew up. Divorce, a messy fallout. My mum was devastated. She had been a stay-at-home mum most of their marriage and had to start over in her 50s. I was crushed. My dad had always been my hero growing up, the classic, hard-working, dependable, dad joke kind of guy. But after what he did, I saw a whole new side of him. He tried to justify it by saying the marriage had been emotionally over for years and that he just wanted to be happy. That hurt more than the cheating. He seemed so detached from the pain he caused. Even after the divorce, he moved on quickly, starting a new life with his girlfriend, and acted like everything was normal. Meanwhile, I watched my mum spiral for years trying to rebuild. I was there for her. She leaned on me a lot, and now, years later, she is stronger. Happy even, but that time left a permanent mark. So when I started planning my wedding, I knew immediately that I didn't want my dad walking me down the aisle. It just felt wrong. That role, in my mind, should be held by someone who protected our family, not by someone who blew it up. I love my dad, but I haven't fully forgiven him. I'm polite when we see each other, and I included him in the wedding as a guest, but I asked my older brother to walk me instead. He was my rock throughout all of it. When I told my dad, he was shocked. He said he was hurt, that it was always his dream to give me away, that I was punishing him for something in the past. He said he's still my father, and nothing changes that. Now my stepmom, the woman he cheated with, is furious. She told me that I'm being cruel and disrespectful and trying to rewrite history. A few cousins have said that I should just let it go, that it was years ago and he's still my dad. Even my grandma said she was disappointed in me. But my mum? She cried when I told her about my decision, not because she was happy he's excluded, but because she felt seen. She told me she didn't expect anything, but knowing I remembered what she went through meant everything. So here I am, wondering if I'm holding a grudge or if I'm just setting a boundary. I don't want to make my wedding about old wounds, but I also can't pretend those wounds don't exist. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, your stepmother has the nerve to call you cruel? Ignore that woman and do what brings you peace. Your father is an asshole. Totally not the asshole. OP says, yes, seeing how my mother struggled all these years makes me want to slap her really hard that her soul leaves her body. I'm going to hell for this, but not the asshole. You are really within your right to make that choice, and it's not cruel. It's about setting boundaries for your own peace of mind. You should focus on what feels right for you and maybe have a heartfelt conversation with your dad to explain why it matters to you without reopening old wounds. OP says, not just mine, but for the peace of mind of my mother. Someone else asks, why does the affair partner think that she gets to opine? She should be shutting up and keeping her head down around the family. Just ask him, why would you have someone who doesn't respect the sanctity of marriage to give you away? And that he should be happy that you're even inviting him and his wife to your wedding, since you both don't respect or honor marriage and think of it as a joke. That makes sense. I'm surprised that they're getting an invite to the wedding. You know, it's not uncommon, of course, but it's definitely interesting to give them an invitation after all of this harassment and dramatics that are going on. I don't know if I could find it within my heart to allow them in my own wedding if I were to face the same thing myself. And yeah, I think you should ask him why you would have someone who doesn't respect the sanctity of marriage giving you away. That's a very interesting question. I'd love to know his answer to it, because I bet he dodges it and goes, "That doesn't matter. I'm your father. This is how these things go, and you should respect that." Never an actual answer to the question, because they can't answer that question, interestingly enough. I say absolutely not the asshole in this one, OP. I think you should rescind the invitation, in all honesty. And now, onto the update. Hi again. I honestly didn't expect this post to get much attention, but I've read through the responses, and thank you to everyone who shared their thoughts. I wanted to give a quick update. You can see the original post on my profile. The wedding is still about a few months away, and yeah, things have escalated. After I told my dad that I didn't want him to walk me down the aisle, he acted calm at first. He said he was hurt, but respected my decision. That lasted about a day, and then he started texting me passive-aggressively. Stuff like, "I hope you enjoy your big day with people who didn't raise you, and I guess your mom is still feeding you her version of things." I didn't respond. He called me selfish and said I was punishing him for something that had nothing to do with our relationship. I told him that it had everything to do with how I saw trust in family, and that this moment was about me feeling safe and supported, not about his image or closure. The real kicker came when my aunt, his sister, messaged me, basically guilt-tripping me to let him have this one moment. She said I was going to humiliate him in front of everyone. That word, humiliate, really stuck with me, because that's how this is being framed now. Not as me setting a boundary, but as me trying to publicly shame him. And it's not true. I didn't post anything about it. I didn't tell anyone but immediate family. It was him who told the extended family and started spinning it into a pity party. My mum has stayed out of it, which I appreciate. She just keeps telling me to do what feels right and not let the drama steal this moment. At this point, I'm honestly considering asking him not to come at all. Not out of spite, just because I don't know if I can handle the emotional weight of having him there, especially if he's going to sulk or make it about himself. I hate that this is overshadowing everything. I was so excited about the wedding, and now I feel like I'm managing emotional landmines every day. I still don't feel bad for not letting him walk me down the aisle. I just wish that I didn't have to turn into this whole mess. Anyway, that's where things stand for now. I'll post a final update after the wedding, assuming I survive the next 2 weeks of family politics. Thanks again to everyone who helped me think this through. Unfortunately, there isn't a final update because OP's account got suspended, so I guess that's where it ends. In the comments, not the asshole. Your father is being ridiculous. It's your wedding, and your dog can give you away if you want. Don't let him, your step whore, or your auntie bully you. Uninvite them all if you wish. Quick question. If the wedding is months away, why only 2 weeks of family politics? OP says, there's a family gathering to happen in 2 weeks. I want to face them all. Someone else says, your father disrespected your mother by cheating on her after long years of marriage. Ask him if it was worth it. You are totally not the asshole. I am again saying this. Don't feel guilty, and I hope that you have a happy marriage. OP says, thank you. I just want to clear my name. I feel like they're gaslighting me. Someone else says, not the asshole. Just tell him that he's shown that he doesn't respect wedding vows, so why should he expect to have such an important part in your wedding? And tell that to anyone else who says something about it. Not the asshole. I would tell him that if he doesn't stop publicly defaming you, he will earn his spot at the wedding on his couch at home. I would say this behavior is exactly why I made the decision in the first place. Big, the tree remembers what the axe forgets vibes. Those who do wrong are often so quick for everyone else to move on and pretend that nothing happened without realizing some things result in lifelong consequences. It was so long ago, why does it matter now? The canonical cry of the narcissistic, thoughtless bastard. Cheaters have narcissistic traits, so his behavior checks out actually. They don't think how cheating can affect others, even their own children, or their children's health. They only think about themselves and their happiness and reputations. Opie calling the mistress, who's a few years older than her stepmother, is wild. She would have been called mistress till the wheels fell off. I can't imagine calling anyone a step-parent who didn't actually participate in raising me, let alone someone my own damn age. My dad's ex, who left him when I was not a teen yet, still counts as stepmom to me. I have a relationship with her to this day, more so than I do with my dad. My mum's actual husband, though, doesn't count as a stepfather. I met him as an adult. I find that weird too. I don't think I could ever call a woman like that a step-parent. It just gives bad vibes. She's definitely mistress in my mind. That is not step-parent vibes. She is crazy. She doesn't deserve the moniker of step-parent. And yeah, it's crazy how the dad can't really apologize for his behavior here. He doesn't recognize what he did wrong, why he did wrong, how he did wrong, how his actions affected others. It's just, can you just forget it? It was so long ago. Who even cares anymore? I hate people like that. I don't want them in my life. And I'm glad OP won't be having them in their life, supposedly. You know, I'm going to assume that that's the case, that OP listened to the comments, took action, and got rid of these people. Thank you for the story, OP. I wish nothing but the best for you. Our next post is by a deleted account, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for being furious that my boyfriend used a keepsake of mine for his art without permission? I've had this shark tooth ever since I was maybe 11. I found it on a beach on vacation. At the time, it was just cool because what are the chances you just walk on a random beach and find a shark tooth? In time, it became an important emotional keepsake for me that reminded me of all the good parts of my childhood. Honestly, most of it wasn't very good, so extra important. I just really like this stupid tooth, and whenever I was upset, I would just rub it in my hands and feel comforted. My boyfriend saw it in my room early on, and I told him this story, and he was like, hey, cool. To be fair, at that point, I didn't go into detail. I just said that it's important to me. Some years went by, we don't live together yet, but most of the time he comes to my place because it's larger. One day, a few months back, I was looking for my shark tooth, and it wasn't in the 2 or 3 places that it's been in. No biggie. I'm honestly pretty messy, and often lose stuff somewhere, only to find it in my sock drawer a week later or something. I kept searching, confident that it would resurface because it has never left my flat. After 2 weeks or so, I began to worry, took my vacuum cleaner apart, and started panicking about maybe having dropped it in the trash somehow, and that it may have been gone for good. Eventually, my boyfriend comes over and notices that one of my drawers was kinda messy, because I'd gone through it and searched every nook. I tell him that I can't find the tooth, and he was like, ooh, that's a shame. I'm sure you'll find it. I didn't notice any weird vibes, so I guess he's got a good poker face. One more week, he says, over text, okay, I need to tell you something. Don't be mad. And sends me a picture of some art project, and it has my shark tooth in it. Apparently he had to do a sculpture type thing for university, and it's like a Viking ship that's half made out of seashells, driftwood, etc., with my tooth as the centerpiece. And he tells me that he saw the tooth in my flat when he was over, and I was in the shower, so he put it in his pocket to ask me later, but then forgot about it, and when he rediscovered it at home, he supposedly thought that it was part of some other materials he had gotten elsewhere, and just went ahead and used it. He claims he didn't remember until it was too late. So I tell him he's gonna give it back to me ASAP, and he goes, well, it might take a few months because it's in an exhibition, and also he used superglue, so he doesn't know if he can get it off. I was just done with the conversation and stared at the wall for like 30 minutes. After I had calmed down a bit, I now genuinely am not sure if I'm overreacting or not. Like, yeah, it's just a tooth, but he didn't ask me. I can believe him that he doesn't remember our short conversation a few years ago about it, but who just takes something from someone's bedroom and slaps it on their artwork without saying anything? I feel like if I see him in person, I'd have to struggle to not flip out. Am I the asshole for reacting so strongly? In the comments, Deleted says, "Honey, he's still lying to you. He definitely lied about just forgetting to ask you. You were in the shower, not on the moon. You telling me you have the kind of relationship where he can't yell something to you in the shower or just wait to ask until you get out? He purposefully waited for you to not be in the room to take the tooth. There is no way he didn't make the connection between the tooth that you were searching for hectically and the one that he took. It's not like it's an iPhone that everyone has or a sweatshirt. It's a shark tooth he is using as the centerpiece of his project. You honestly believe that bullshit about forgetting where he found it? He then just lied to you all over again and let you believe that you lost it. He waits a week. A week? Come on. You think he wouldn't connect the centerpiece of his exhibit-entered art piece with the object he swiped while his girlfriend was in the shower? Unless he literally got a traumatic brain injury in the last week, there is no fucking way he'd forget. I remember where I sourced everything for my art projects when they were made of trash. You think he'd honestly forget finding a shark tooth? That means he even debated telling you the truth for a week. Remember that. It took him a week to decide that you deserve to know the truth and that you weren't responsible for losing your prized object. Girl, throw the boyfriend out. If he expects you to believe this bullshit, just imagine the stories he'll try to sell you in the future. No man who has any respect for a woman's intelligence would attempt to sell her this shit. I'm telling you, for all the women 10 plus years into this dating game who have fallen for shit like this, if it acts like douche and quacks like a douche, it's a douche, not the asshole. OP replies, he claims he only remembered this sometime after I told him that the tooth is missing. I definitely don't believe his story. I was just unsure if I maybe believe parts of it or nothing. He is forgetful, so I thought it could be possible. Peekaboo replies, OP, it's a shark tooth, and it's the centerpiece of this piece, so it's probably the only shark tooth either at all or of its size. He lied to you, and he stole from you. Why would he ever take anything from your home without asking to begin with? Forgetful about the story? Maybe. Forgetful that he took it from your place, used it in his piece, and didn't tell you until you were going crazy looking for it, and he may get caught? Hard no. OP replies, you're right. At this point, I honestly wonder why he told me at all, since I didn't even know he was doing that sculpture. He could have kept quiet and I would have 100% blamed my own messy ass. Once again, people very easily fall victim to manipulation and to gaslighting. I really do feel like he was gaslighting her in this situation. But the more serious thing to tackle here is obfuscation and trickle-truthing. It's good that OP realizes that when it's pointed out to her. I understand why you would come to get more help in a situation like this, but this is breakup worthy. This is, if you don't bring your crusty ass back here with that art exhibit right now, I'm gonna go rip that shark tooth out of it and shove it up your ass level of serious shit going on here. I say it a lot, but I say it because I mean it. What he did is evil. That is an evil act. That is an uncaring person that doesn't give a fuck about you, OP. He could have gone anywhere else and gotten that shark tooth, but no, he decided that he had to use the one that means so much to you and then lie and obfuscate and trickle truth. No, he's a bad person. Objectively bad. Get rid of him. And now, onto the update. I'll use this for a small update. I wrote an email to the university. Sadly, the answer was not encouraging, as they asked me for proof that I bought the tooth, even though I wrote in here that I found it. So that's dumb. I'll try to find out who's responsible for the art department though, and keep trying. I forgot my password asks, can't you screenshot your text messages where he says he took it and you can have it back? That's proof that it doesn't belong to him. OP says, we sadly never directly refer to the tooth in the messages, but it might work. And now onto the latest update, 5 days later. So I wasn't allowed to post an update post. Long story short, I have my tooth back. Boyfriend threw it in my mailbox in an envelope without a card or anything, so I don't know if I'm supposed to take that as an apology or if he's pissed off. The tooth seems unharmed. I haven't talked to boyfriend ever since this happened and don't know what will happen with us. But I have the tooth back, and I'm actually planning on getting a tattoo of it, so if it ever does get lost, I will still have it with me. Thanks for everyone assuring me that I was not the arsehole. In the comments, Laney122 says, first comment is on point. The fact that he waited a week meant he knew instantly that he had fucked up. And that's being generous by assuming that he didn't know he was fucking up when he actually took the tooth, but still took a week to confess. OP's better off without someone like that. Also, the tattoo idea is dope. I hope they broke up. Imagine stealing someone else's sentimental items for your own selfish art pieces. My sister once took my copy of a trilogy gifted to me by our grandfather, who had died earlier that year, and used the books in one of her artworks. She also previously gave away one of my less cherished and sentimental books to a teacher who was leaving. Everyone in my family thinks I'm ridiculous for bringing it up with some resentment every so often, but yeah, people definitely do this shit. And when people do this shit, you need to lay the law down on them. You can't let them get away with that, there has to be consequences for those actions. It feels like when it comes to sentimental personal property like that, the hard boundary goes without saying, and if those people don't recognize that hard boundary, or they do and they do it anyway, it doesn't matter. They don't get the benefit of the doubt. You come down on them hard, and you mess them up for it, so they know never to do it again, and you get their ass into gear so that they fix the problem that they caused. That's my wisdom on a situation like this anyway. It seems like OP's was resolved with less fanfare than how I would have approached the situation, but I wish to incur wrath upon those that do me wrong. And that is how I'm going to operate. That's how I choose to be. So, yeah, thank you for the story, OP. I'm glad that it panned out well. I'm glad that you got your shark tooth back. And definitely a very good idea getting that tattoo. I like that. Am I the arsehole for telling my daughter that my in-laws are stupid? My wife and I have 3 kids. Our youngest, Emily, turned 6 last Saturday. We recently had to deal with an issue in Emily's school. Last year, a new student joined her class and started bullying her. He would make fun of her, call her names, and steal her stuff to hide it around the school. On 2 occasions, the bullying got physical. It took us a while to sort everything out because the boy's parents were a nightmare and nothing the school did worked. Finally, they threatened to expel him if he didn't leave our daughter alone, and his family got him to stop. He hasn't bothered Emily in months, and she's doing much better. Because of how much of an ordeal this ended up being, many of our friends and family members know what happened. Most were as frustrated as we were, but my wife's stepmother, Patty, thought that the whole thing was cute. Even after we told her everything the boy did, she still insisted that he probably just liked Emily and didn't know how to show it. I hate people like Patty. Stop excusing assholes. For whatever reason, she's fixated on this. Every time the subject comes up, Patty says she still thinks that we're being dramatic and the boy deserves another chance. My father-in-law fluctuates between being angry at the school and agreeing that the boy was probably harmless. They never spoke about this near the kids, and my wife and I don't give a shit what they think anyway, so we never worried much about this. We're throwing Emily a birthday party this Saturday. Because my father-in-law will be busy, we all had dinner together at a place that Emily likes the day before her birthday. Near the end of the dinner, she started talking about her party, how excited she was, and which of her friends were coming. My father-in-law asked Emily if the bully was invited, and before anyone replied, he obviously isn't, Patty added that it would be mean if she didn't invite him, because he liked her and would be very sad. Emily looked at me and my wife. I told her, "Don't worry, honey. Grandpa and Patty are both very stupid. Don't listen to them." They looked shocked, but didn't try to argue. We had an awkward goodbye and went our separate ways. My father-in-law called us on Monday. He apologized for what he and Patty said, but told us he expected me to apologize as well. He said that I crossed a line by insulting him and his wife in front of his grandchildren. My wife and I have been on the same page throughout all of this. But yesterday, she told me she was starting to wonder whether it would have been better to deal with this privately, especially since we don't like insulting people in front of the kids. Am I the asshole? Edit. I've brought this up in the comments, but I want to offer more context on what the bully did. It was mostly verbal. He created a few nicknames that kind of, not really, sounded like Emily's real name and our last name. She once got brown paint on her clothes during art class, and he started calling her Pig. He laughed whenever she spoke in class. The teacher would always shut him down, but Emily is already a shy kid, and that didn't help. They have weekly toy days at school, and Emily stopped bringing her toys because the boy kept stealing them or threatening to break them. He would also take her stuff, like backpack, school materials, and personal items, and hide them. We managed to get all those things back, and the closest he got to damaging something she owned was a small rip in one of her stuffed animals that my wife was able to fix. And as I mentioned, the bullying got physical twice. On the first occasion, he pushed her off of a swing set. She scraped her knees, but wasn't hurt otherwise. The school reprimanded him, but it didn't do much. A few weeks after that, he put gum in her hair during lunch. A teacher witnessed and said he grabbed her head violently to do so. That got him suspended, and the school threatened to expel him not long after. I don't think there's much I can say about this boy, except he has very obvious behavioral issues that his parents refuse to manage properly. In the comments, not the asshole. You have told Patty to knock it off, and then she went and tried to ruin your kid's birthday party by asking to invite that nightmare of a child to attend. She needs to get over her fixation before she pushes your family away from your dad and her. OP says, I'm really glad we didn't do this dinner on her actual birthday. Emily was upset, but she was doing better the next day. Not the asshole. I wouldn't apologize. They were out of line. You have to take bullying seriously. Kids are harming themselves just from being bullied, and they really need to stop with the he likes her and meant no harm. Nothing is cute about being bullied and harassed. OP says, Patty's whole attitude about this has been infuriating. We've barely spoken about this boy in months, but she feels the need to bring him up every single time. Someone else says, there was probably no other way to make your mother-in-law shut up, so not the asshole. What I find disturbing is that your mother-in-law prioritizes a bully over her own grandchild. Since when is bullying a sign of affection? If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, chances are it's a duck. Seen in a wider context, your mother-in-law enables and makes excuses for the kind of toxic behavior that men display towards women on a daily basis. Instead of protecting her grandchild, she exposes her to a bully. That's seriously insane. OP replies, back when we were having to deal with the boy's parents, one of the excuses they used, referring to the name-calling, was that all boys behaved like that around girls. I think about that a lot, both because I know that it's not true, as neither of my sons are like that, nor did I act like that when I was a child, and because of how disheartening it is that people could enable that. A downvoted commenter says, you're the asshole. You just called your father-in-law a name in front of your daughter. They are from a different generation. Yes, they were wrong, but so are you. They aren't just your in-laws, those are your wife's parents and your daughter's grandparents. You owe your wife, your daughter, and them an apology. OP replies, first, Patty is not my wife's mother or my children's grandmother. That's my mother-in-law who is still alive and kicking. Secondly, my father-in-law is in his 60s, so he's not that old. I don't really consider that a good reason to be soft. You can absolutely make the argument that I should apologize, but not for that reason. Someone else says, Patty downplaying your daughter's trauma in front of her would be it for me. I wouldn't let anyone around one of my kids that tried to downplay or minimize the hurt they had suffered by their bully, and I would tell them that. I would definitely take a time out from seeing Patty for a while, because I'm sure her comment confused your daughter. OP says, Emily cried on the way home. We had to tell her that she wasn't being mean to the boy. When asked what steps did the school take to deal with the bullying situation, OP says, the school actually handled everything better than we expected, but we could tell they were having trouble with it because the boy was very difficult to deal with. Transferring him to a different class didn't work, sending notes to his home didn't work, setting up meetings between us and his parents did not work. Not even suspending him worked. We could always tell the school was trying, but nothing they did stopped him or convinced his parents to do something until they threatened to expel him. When asked, does Patty have any kids, OP says, she doesn't have kids. My wife and her sister don't consider her a second mum either. I'm sure it goes without saying, but Patty doesn't need to have experienced having kids to have empathy for someone in this situation. Patty is an asshole. Patty needs to be talked to directly, like the adult that she is, and be told, hey, you cut that shit out, and you pull father-in-law in line as well. I'm going to have a talk with him, but you stop bringing this shit up. You stop mentioning the boy. You stop pressuring Emily with stupid, dangerous advice, or you guys are getting cut out of our lives. This is a hard boundary. You cross it again, that's it. You're gone. You're not getting to see anyone ever again. The shit that you're doing, Patty, is genuinely harmful, and it needs to stop now. That's what I'd say. If I was in the situation, I would think that Patty deserves to have the hammer of my judgment come down on her hard. Because this pisses me off. This is how you traumatize a child and make them question their own reality. Oh yeah, someone else continues to physically assault me, make me feel like shit, verbally abuse me. They actually just love you. They're actually just in love with you, and this is a normal thing. And we should actually reward that behavior. Yeah, Patty, you are delusional. You are a dangerous, delusional woman. And obviously, say the exact same shit to father-in-law as well, because it's obviously not getting through to him. He obviously agrees with her. He's no better. And now, on to the update. I'm very grateful for the advice and support you gave me on my first post. To get it out of the way, Emily's birthday party went off without a hitch, and she had a great time with her friends. It's always bittersweet watching our little girl grow up so fast, but me and my wife enjoyed ourselves as well. We talked more about what happened over the last few days. My wife made it very clear that she didn't care that I called her father and Patty stupid and didn't think that I should apologize, but was concerned about our kids thinking that I was a hypocrite. We always aim to teach each other to be kind and avoid insulting others, and it doesn't feel fair to hold them to standards that we don't hold ourselves to. So Friday night, we sat the kids down and discussed what I had said. We explained that I was upset at what my in-laws had done and was trying to protect Emily, but that what I said was still not nice and that they shouldn't repeat it. I apologized for the language I used. Besides that, my wife and I also talked about how we would deal with her father and Patty. I told her that I wanted them to apologize to Emily and I wouldn't say a word to them until they did. She agreed with me. After the party, she texted her father the following. This is a translation. The party went well. About what happened at Emily's birthday dinner, OP will not apologize. Patty has no right to tell our daughter how she should feel about the boy who made her life hell for months, and neither do you. I'll call you tomorrow, and you will apologize to your granddaughter. If your wife wants to continue being a part of the children's lives, she will too. And if she mentions that boy again, I'll have to seriously rethink the role that we're letting her have here. This isn't up for discussion. She showed me the text before sending it, but I agreed with pretty much everything. They had a short fight about it, but he agreed in the end. I offered to apologize to keep the peace, and my wife told me not to. Both my father-in-law and Patty finally apologized to Emily on Sunday. We are not confident about Patty, but my father-in-law seemed sincere. Either way, we've decided to loosen our ties with my wife's stepmother for a while. We're still working everything out, but we'll see her less until at least my eldest son's birthday in October. I have no doubts that my father-in-law loves my children, but he's a very strange guy. He was overprotective of his daughters their whole youths, but frequently tells us that we're dramatic when it comes to our kids. And I never had any strong feelings about Patty, but her treatment of Emily's situation has soured my image of her. God loves a hypocrite. Oh yes, it was okay when I was overprotective, but you're just dramatic. On a side note, the bully found out about the party. His mother found my wife on Instagram and messaged her to complain that he wasn't invited. My wife reminded her of the day the school threatened to kick her son out. No reply as of today. I didn't know what to expect when I posted here, but I was glad to see that even those who thought that I was in the wrong agreed that Emily and her well-being came first. At the end of the day, that's all I really care about. This will be my only update. Thanks everyone. In the comments, glad everything worked out. As for the bully not being invited to the party but finding out, F around and find out. Maybe if his parents didn't raise him to be mean to other kids, it wouldn't be an issue. OP says his parents enabled and found excuses for everything he did up until the consequences got too severe. The one time my daughter physically defended herself and the few times my sons yelled at him to defend her were upsetting to them. They disapproved of everything the school did to protect Emily, including moving their son to a different class. Another commenter says, "I'm glad you taught your daughter that abusive peers don't like her. That kind of thinking is insane. I'm 60 and I hated hearing it when I was young." OP says, "Both me and my wife hate it too. It was especially infuriating when we were having to deal with the bully and his parents, and Patty started trying to convince us that the boy had a crush on Emily. Hearing that the kid who was tormenting my daughter on an almost daily basis was just a cute little boy who didn't know how to deal with being in love was maddening." When asked if there was any chances that Patty knows or is friends with the bully's parents, OP says, "Highly doubt it. We never gave Patty or my father-in-law any last names, and they are not involved with a children's school otherwise. Both of the boys' parents also have very common first names." Another commenter says, "It's hard enough watching your child go through something like that, but when the other parents enable the behavior instead of taking responsibility, it just makes everything worse. I'm glad your kids stood up for Emily. Sounds like they did the right thing even when the adults didn't." And OP says, "I guess it would be hard to watch someone call your sister a pig and not do something about it. My sons are both older than Emily and the bully, so I'm glad they didn't get physical, but I'm proud of them for defending her." Someone else asks, "Why the heck would that kid's parents care about your daughter having a birthday party? My God, they're deranged." And OP says, "They didn't actually parent their child until the school threatened to expel him. Their reaction does not surprise me. My wife showed me the mother's text. She essentially said that it wasn't fair to exclude her son and gave some of the same excuses for his behavior that she had given during our meetings at the school. The goal of a child and his mother whining to someone's parents that he's not invited to the party of someone he bullied. I've dealt with shit parents of shit children, especially as a scout leader, and I'm amazingly happy when they leave because we won't put up with their bullshit. My son was bullied by his 4 friends for his first year at a new school. They were all kind when one-on-one with him, but awful in a group. By the end of the year, we were both very tired of them. I arranged, with my son's permission, for him to be in a different class the next year and phoned and spoke to the parents and uninvited the children from his birthday party. The parents seemed to be understanding. The next year, he made friends that he still has 15 years later and was never bullied again in his new class. And there is an example of stellar parenting, much the same as OP was a stellar parent in their story today. It's unfortunate that shit parents of shit kids will enable and allow abuse to continue, but that's just how some people are, and you've got to have a backbone against abusive dickheads like that. It's sad that the school wouldn't really do much about it, and you had to push it so far to the point that they threatened expulsion. You'd really think that they would just get on top of the problem before it gets to that point, but it's insane to me that they don't. Like, why do they allow this to continue? I don't know. I don't have the answers to it. All I remember is back when I was in school, if I retaliated to abuse, I was punished and the abuser was not. So I feel very deeply for OP and OP's child. I hope that this is the end of it, and I wish them nothing but the best going forward. Thank you for your story. Our next post is by user It's Leah XX, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for not inviting my sister's boyfriend to my wedding because of his racist tattoos, even though he's changed? I, 27 male, white, am getting married this summer to my fiancé, 29 female, black. We are super excited, and honestly, planning a wedding as an interracial couple has had its ups and downs. Some family members weren't thrilled at first, but over time, most have come around. Here's the problem. My sister, 25 female, has been dating her boyfriend, who we will call P, 30 male, for about a year. P has a complicated past. He spent time in prison when he was younger, and during that time, he got heavily tattooed, including very visible racist tattoos. I'm talking swastikas, white power symbols, etc. Now, to be fair, P has openly said he regrets his past. He's tried to distance himself from that chapter of his life, and my sister swears he's completely reformed. But here's the thing. He still has all the tattoos. They're on his neck, hands, arms. They are unavoidable. My fiancée has made it clear that she would feel extremely uncomfortable having P at the wedding, and honestly, so would I. My fiancé's family, many of whom I love dearly, would be absolutely horrified to see someone covered in those symbols at what's supposed to be a joyful, welcoming celebration. I pulled my sister aside and explained gently that while I appreciate that P has changed, his appearance still carries a lot of pain and meaning, and I don't feel comfortable having him there. I invited her, but asked that P sits this one out. She flipped out, saying I was being unforgiving, that if we believe people can change, I shouldn't punish him forever, and that by excluding him, I'm basically just as prejudiced. She told me that if P isn't invited, she's not coming either. Now my parents are involved, saying I'm blowing this out of proportion and risking a family blow-up over something that doesn't mean anything anymore. My fiancée says she understands that it's complicated, but she's quietly grateful I took this stance. So am I the asshole for refusing to invite someone with racist tattoos, even though he supposedly left that ideology behind? In the comments, Madam Unicorn of Doom says, if he has changed, has he considered tattoo removal, cover-ups, anything? OP says, he's considered it, but he has quite a lot of tattoos, and they are not in the financial position to cover them or remove them at the moment. Edit to add, now that you mentioned this though, I might discuss having the makeup artist cover his tattoos up with makeup for the day. Powerful Response says, there are organizations that will assist in cover-ups of reformed racists. There's also cover-up makeup that can be done. If he can't see the pain those tattoos and symbols cause, he hasn't actually changed. Not the asshole. OP says, yes, I actually just thought of using makeup to cover them up. It might actually be a nice idea so that he could attend. As for those organizations, would you be so kind to tell me where I can look them up? I'd like to see if there's some local ones that could help. And yeah, they provided resources, but that's kind of neither here nor there. For me, it's important that OP was led to water and given options in this instance. Yes, there are ways to work around this instance, but from my point of view, it's insane that OP has to be the one to facilitate this. The sister and sister's boyfriend are the ones causing an insane, incredibly damaging problem, and they themselves are not looking for alternatives to the pain that they can and will cause if they come to the wedding? Am I hearing this right? Why are you, OP, the one that has to bear this burden for your own wedding? I don't understand why people can't just have their own agency. I think it's incredibly rich that she says, you're the one being unforgiving, and if you believe people can change, you shouldn't punish him forever, and by excluding him, you're basically just as prejudiced. So she admits, he is prejudiced, and, just as prejudiced, that tells me she thinks he is currently prejudiced, and he will cause a problem at the wedding. I think it's best if they just not come at all. I think his presence, regardless of it being covered up or not, is going to be a problem. People are going to understand why he is all weird looking with the cover-ups. Also, he's 30 years old, and he spent time in prison when he was younger, yet it's been how long since he was in jail, and he didn't just get cover-ups over the years? If he really wanted to, he would do it. This is such a pathetic and sad excuse, being like, oh, well, we're not in a financial position to do that. It's not that expensive, and you should do it. You should feel shame. You should feel shame dating someone with racist tattoos like that, and he should feel shame having them on his body and not doing anything to cover them up over all that time. He's had time. If I was in OP's shoes, I wouldn't be looking for alternatives. I wouldn't be allowing them at my wedding. That is too much of a risk to take. This is going to cause an absolute blow-up on a day that is supposed to be special for you. Absolutely not. If it were me, I wouldn't have them there. I don't blame you if you do, but hey, that's your choice. And now, on to the update. Hi everyone. Thanks so much for all the thoughtful comments and advice on my original post. I really appreciated hearing so many perspectives, and it helped me work through this situation more calmly and fairly. After sitting with it for a bit, I decided to have an open, honest conversation with my sister and her boyfriend, P. I explained to them again why his tattoos were such a big concern, especially given the context of me marrying my black fiancé with many black family members and friends attending. I emphasized that it wasn't about punishing P or refusing to acknowledge that people can change, but rather about making sure the day felt safe, welcoming, and joyful for everyone present. To my surprise, P was incredibly understanding. He acknowledged that even though he's no longer the person who got those tattoos, they still carry real meaning and can cause pain just by being seen. He said he didn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable on such an important day, and he offered to do whatever he could to help. After some discussion, we all agreed on a compromise. On the wedding day, our makeup artist will help cover up as many of his visible tattoos as possible. On top of that, P will wear long sleeves and high collars to help keep things discreet. My sister was clearly relieved that we found a solution that included him without ignoring the valid concerns. My fiancée is grateful too. She told me she feels respected and supported by the way that this was handled, which honestly means the world to me. I'm so glad that we were able to come to an agreement that balances grace, growth, and sensitivity without cutting people out or creating bigger rifts. Thank you again, Reddit, for helping me navigate this. Sometimes just reading different viewpoints really helps clarify what matters most. And a special thank you to everyone who suggested the makeup as a solution and giving us reach out to local tattoo places or charities that might be able to help P get his tattoos removed or covered up with his current financial position. In the comments, Scarlett Mae West says, "I'm so glad a calm, honest conversation worked. Good luck with all the wedding planning." OP says, "I am very glad too. I wasn't very hopeful after my sister's initial reaction, but I'm glad that she and P were willing to work with us on that." Minute Employ says, "Honestly, I'd still be pissed at my sister. How stupid do you have to be to not realize the tattoos would be a problem?" Well, they weren't a problem when she started to talk to this guy. So, even the most confident racist in the world would know that you can't go to a wedding where the bride is black and you're covered in Nazi tattoos. So either she wanted to make a statement, or she's the dumbest person alive. Look, I'm glad that OP solved this one calmly and professionally like they did, but I'm with these guys. I'd be pissed off at her too. Who the hell does she think she is dating someone like that? What kind of message does that send? Oh yeah, no, I'm not racist by association. He's not racist either. I'm just dating someone absolutely covered head to toe in the most abhorrent display of racism ever, but he's changed. He's not that guy anymore. I'm all for redemption. I'm all for people changing and doing that, but you have to show it through your actions, and you have to get that shit covered up one way or another. You can't just ignore the problem and be like, no, he's fine the way he looks right now, and he's going to a wedding where a good size of the audience there is going to be incredibly offended by his presentation. So yes, I agree. She either wanted to make a statement or she's the dumbest person alive. I believe that she's both. I would have some absolute fighting words for my sister if she were to ever do something like this in my life. And I would hope that other people also have the same and would try and get to where this is all coming from personally. My girlfriend and I got into an argument after a round of golf. How do I convince her I wasn't being malicious? For some background, I, 31 male, have recently started dating a girl, 26 female, that I like a lot. Like, say, 4 months. Both of us are really close to our families and spend a lot of time with them, so it was basically impossible for our families not to meet pretty early. Like, I watch my niece 2 days a week, and my mum does the other days and helps out on my days. Our families are pretty similar, standard, boring, suburban Midwestern families, and everyone gets along. So to the story. My girlfriend and her dad invited my dad and I to go golfing with them. It's been crazy nice where I live, and courses are open right now when they're usually closed for the winter, and they wanted to take advantage. They knew that we both played golf, and the two of them were both very into golf. Like her high school and college trophies showing around their parents' house. It's really sweet. Golf is pretty much their main hobby. So here's some more info about me. I do not look like I golf. At all. I am covered in tattoos, I have long hair, my style is more punk than country club. I also am really good at golf. I personally enjoy the activities surrounding golf more than actually playing golf itself though. I like drinking a few beers and walking the course with friends more than practicing golf. I've done enough practice for 10 lifetimes, I promise you. My grandpa on dad's side started a private golf club in the 50s. My grandpa on my mum's side was a golf coach. My dad played at a top university and is currently a top 50 senior golfer in the world. I have spent more time on a golf course than should be accepted by society. Literally, my daycare growing up during summer was just to drop me off at the club until dad was done with work. So about 9 hours a day, 36 holes, 7 days a week, all summer. By the time high school came around, it felt more like torture than a hobby or a leisure activity, so I stopped playing. But once you learn something so thoroughly and so young, it doesn't go away. Anyway, I've told my girlfriend my thoughts on golf before, and that I mostly like the exercise, being outside and cold beverages with friends, but I would still love to go with her anytime. I think this must have translated into, I'm not very good at golf for her or something. Even before the first hole was over, I could tell something was up. Girlfriend wasn't ignoring me, but she was definitely more distant. I just thought maybe she likes to focus more on the golf than the social aspects during a round, and that's fine. Going into this, I saw today as an opportunity to bond with her dad, and not really about us, if that makes sense. So I just gave her space and did my best to get to know the guy, and we do get to know each other better, and I think we have a pretty great round. Well, the distance continued until we got to my house and she exploded at me. We haven't really had a fight before, and she is not quick to anger. She was really mad and saying things like, why would I lie to her about something so dumb, and you were trying to make me look stupid and make her family look bad, etc., etc. I was flabbergasted. I mean, first fights are interesting to navigate, but this was something else. She eventually left as she needed to cool off, but she's been distant and curt with me since. That was Sunday. During our fight, I was just so caught off guard that I didn't really say much, which I don't think helped. We've been kinda just ignoring the situation, which is definitely not working at all. I really like her, and I want to move past this. Other than this fight, she's been so sweet and kind and loving. She's the best. I'm gonna go talk to her later tonight about this, but I'm not really sure what to say. How do I convince her that I wasn't hiding my golf ability to be malicious or mean, I just don't like golf? It just sounds so ridiculous and dumb reading over this to me, but I don't want to mess this up. In the comments, Sugar Glitter Kiss says, OP, if you had mentioned a quarter as much to your girlfriend as you wrote in your post, you wouldn't be in this position. How could none of your family's relationships with golf not have come up once with a girl who has golf trophies all over her house? That's insane. How embarrassing for her to be in the dark about that in front of her family. If this isn't a shitpost, then tell her what you told us and apologize for being clueless. Edit to add, it's also insane that she said that you were trying to make her family look bad. OP replies, most of this was over 20 years ago. It just isn't who I am today. She knows my dad played in the US and British Senior AM. I guess I just don't talk about myself or my past that much. Like, hey, by the way, I'm a +2 handicap, just isn't a conversation that I would have. Sugar Glitter Kiss replies, isn't a conversation I would have? It should be when you date a golfer. Very bizarre thing not to mention that you played enough in the past to be good. Not to mention it was a big part of your life. It's not like you have to announce your handicap as a conversation opener. OP replies, she knew that I was on the golf team when I was in the 7th grade, which kind of insinuates I'm good. She knows my dad and brother are both extremely good. Yeah, I don't know. The more I'm talking with people on here, I'm thinking I should have talked about it earlier, but golf is such a joy in her life, and for me, it was not the same. So I would just kind of talk about her experience with golf, or bring up parallels from my brother's and dad experience. Both play at an extremely high amateur level, and keep conversations light. I don't know. Just for her to be talking about how much she loved it, I just didn't want to respond with, "Oh yeah, I had more conversations with the waitresses at my club than my parents during summer. I'm a stick, by the way. Through no autonomy of my own, my swing is fucking gorgeous." Like, I obviously know that's an extreme, but it's kinda hard to start that conversation without going all the way through it. And while 4 months is a long time, I don't know if we're quite at that stage of the relationship. Green-eyed wench says, "Is it usual for someone to still be good at it after 20 years of not practicing? I wouldn't think that would be the case in most sports, but I admittedly know nothing about golf." OP replies, "So golf is kinda weird. It's pretty much strictly a skill sport. Like, sure, if you're stronger and more athletic, you can probably get more out of your swing, but if you're able to move somewhat freely, you can play golf. So basically, I already have all the skills in the form of muscle memory. I mean, knowledge too. My grandpa was a golf coach. I know golf. So when I quit, was right before puberty basically. For golfers, sometimes there's a small window where if you play a lot, you're actually a little better before puberty than during. The mistakes you make are smaller because you aren't hitting the ball as far. It's basically playing for pars and getting them almost every time, and occasionally you have a shot at a birdie on some of the shorter holes. You are learning how to score. You won't have great shots that save you, you have to be incredibly consistent. After puberty though, you play for birdies. Higher risk, higher reward. So I was basically a scratch golfer before puberty. For a while after, I was a little worse than that, but not much, and then when I was 18-ish and got better again, as I got more used to my body and started playing at about a +2. Sorry, I just wanted to hear OP talk about golf. He seems very invested in that world. And if he was to ask me personally, what did I do wrong here? What should I have done? I'd say, what you did wrong was not be more transparent about your past with golfing, just how good you and your family are at golf, and preparing her for that meetup, because yeah, I can see why that would be so confronting and odd for her to have these two absolute champions just smashing it out when it seemed like before you weren't really that interested in it. And I guess what you should have done, I guess after the fact, would be like, let's sit down and talk about this. I don't quite understand where these feelings are coming from. Could you please, tell me how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way, and I'll address your points. I realize I messed up here. Let's make this right. It didn't exactly sound like you did that. It sounded like you had an argument and a fight without kind of trying to resolve it and talk to each other. And I'm guessing from the way that it's worded on her part, maybe she was unwilling to have that conversation and she kind of wanted to vent and yell at you. And if that is the case, then I understand that. Some conflict resolution has to happen now, though, from this point forward. Like, this doesn't seem healthy to stay in this limbo that you're in. And now, on to the update. So last night, we talked about what had happened. My part in not really telling her about my history with golf, and her reaction to it. She started crying and apologizing immediately, which kind of surprised me because I've never seen her cry before and explained things from her end. So on the way to the course, she rode with her dad there and me home. Her dad and her had a bet. What do you think he's gonna shoot? She started the bet, so she decided the line, and he got to pick over or under. The stakes? Cleaning up the winter poop from their dogs after the snow thaws. Pretty high stakes. So she said 85, and he said, easiest under of my life. Get your poop scoop ready. They do not, in fact, have a poop scoop. So I guess his response, paired along with my play, had been bothering her all day, but he didn't say anything about it. So it was kind of just brewing all day. But she was positive that her dad knew that I was a good golfer and that she did not. So she didn't know if I was just doing this to help her dad not to have to clean up the poop, or if she was just missing something obvious that would have clued her in. Because why would her dad know that about me, but not her? She just felt like everyone else was in on it, and she was being made into a fool for no reason. Well, then the explosion happened. She said she had just let her imagination get the best of her, and that she wasn't even being rational, and she knows that. She apologized for all of that. Afterwards, she called her dad, and he kinda realized he'd fucked up and told her how he knew about me. So, she has an older brother 4 years older than me, who also happened to play golf. The reason he remembered me even close to 20 years later? He got into a fight with my grandpa at a JPGA tournament. Not like fist fight, but a pretty damn heated argument. Which, yeah, that makes sense because that would happen quite often. Like seriously, 1 out of 4 events I played in. I was 13 and still playing competitively, and her brother was 17 and pretty good. I would play in the 14 to 17-year-old division because the 10 to 13 division had different rules that weren't golf, quote-unquote. Circle 10s if you score too high, just small changes to keep the pace of play going for worse players. Anyway, her brother was in my group and I wasn't playing that great, and my grandpa was riding me the whole time. My brother was in college at the time and playing in the biggest amateur events in the country, which is a huge time commitment. My parents would go and watch these, so I would stay with my grandparents, so grandpa would take me to things like this. Anyway, I guess my grandpa was laying into me in front of everyone, and her dad just lost it. So they got into a huge shouting match. He wasn't sure that I was that kid right away, but after we were friends on Facebook, he did some sleuthing and found a pic of my whole family, and sure enough, there was my grandpa. After hearing this, my girlfriend was kind of devastated. Embarrassed, sad for me, just generally distraught. But she didn't know what to say and how to apologize correctly because it was clear that I didn't really want to talk about that point of my life yet. So she just tried to ignore it, but it made her come across as distant. So, we just talked about it all. About how I eventually hated golf back then, but she always talked about the good times that she had with her family playing it growing up, and I didn't want to tint those memories with my experiences. We hugged, cried, and laughed. Called in sick today because it took up most of the night, but I think we're in a great spot. Her dad felt really bad, as he didn't realize how much it actually bothered my girlfriend originally, and he kind of belatedly realized that, while it was just a stupid and embarrassing, yet very memorable interaction for him, not many times do you have a fight at a kid's golf event with an 80-plus-year-old man. For me, that was kind of a microcosm of my life at the time. Like, hey kid, remember that time when you were verbally abused publicly, and then someone stood up for you, and it started a huge fight? Man, what silly times. Isn't a convo he was willing to jump into, so he just kinda kept it to himself, and he didn't think his daughter would make a connection with the bet. He thought he would just get some free yard work and get off scotch-free. So, all is well, and the 3 of us are cleaning up poop this weekend. I did thank him for sticking up for me back then, and it actually meant a lot to me at the time when people would do that. He just asked that if we have kids one day, maybe keep Grandpa away from the sporting events. In the comments, Gwynasson says, yeah, that update with the story of being A, left behind by the parents every time his brother had a competitive tournament, which I'm guessing was almost every weekend, and B, getting yelled at by your grandpa, I'm assuming more than just that one time, it's very understandable that he got sick of golf and also didn't want to talk about it or himself in regards to golf with many people. Still though, good lesson for him and her. Just talk with each other. Communication prevents many unnecessary arguments. Rain MH11 says, I'm kinda surprised he bounced back enough to date someone that in love with golf. It said a lot about how well he adjusted to love a girl that in love with golf. Recognizing her passion even though his own experience was such shit, and not letting it ruin it for her said so much about his growth as a person. Like, it's so goddamn sweet. Absolutely right. I would guess there's a lot of people that have complete aversion to things like golf in this experience, that they would prefer just not to date someone that is that closely tied in with golf that would be a deal breaker for them to avoid any upsets like what potentially happened here or what did happen here. I personally commend OP for their personal growth in that they were able to move past this, communicate in a healthy way, and not lose their mind over something that at the end of the day I think is a bit of a nothing burger. Like, yes, it's your past, there's a lot of scars there, there's a lot of history, but that's not who you are anymore. And that really shows in the way that OP handled this situation. They are not that traumatized kid who's being yelled at by their grandpa and abandoned by their parents every weekend. OP is able to communicate openly and freely about everything that happened back then and shore up any hurt feelings that their past and obfuscation of details about their past caused his partner. And I really like that. Although with Gwynassen's comment, still good lesson for him and her, just talk with each other, communication prevents many unnecessary arguments. My only real gripe here was that communication was supposed to be coming from the girlfriend straight away. I don't think there was anything OP could have done in this instance, because I'm on OP's side. That's a lot of heavy baggage that you don't really want to dump on someone 4 months in. Because how is that going to shape the relationship when you're still in the honeymoon phase at such an early point? You like this person. You want to stick it out with this person. I'm not going to trauma dump on you. I don't think that would be fair to her, and I don't think it's fair to him. So it was a rock and a hard place. I don't think OP had much of a choice. I'm glad she did communicate, but hopefully this doesn't become a pattern going forward. Hopefully she learns from this. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you for the story, OP. It was lovely. Our next post is by user hovercraft just5145, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for not making my son give rides to his stepsister to and from school? I, 45 male, share 3 kids with my ex, 16 male, 14 male, and 11 female. We divorced 10 years ago. My ex D remarried 8 years ago and has another bio daughter, 7 female, and a stepdaughter, 14 female. My kids have never really gotten along with their stepsister. She pretty much gets whatever she wants. She's always had her own room and bathroom at their mum's house. My daughter had to share with her brothers. She does not do chores and expects my kids to do whatever she asks them to do. Things have been really bad the last 2 years, and a little over a year ago, my oldest came to live with me full-time. A few months later, his brother followed. My oldest turned 16 back in December. I bought a car for him. My only request was that he would take his brother and sister, my kids, to school, which he agreed to do. My sons and their stepsister go to the same school. Not long after I got him the car, Dee started asking that my son take his stepsister to and from school. My ex's neighborhood is on the route to school from my house. He refused. My ex tried to make me make him do it, but I refused. Well, last month, we got a winter storm come in. The first round was not supposed to be bad, so there was school, but quickly the weather got worse than predicted, so the school let out early. My sons were walking to the car with a friend to head to my house. Their stepsister was standing near the car with a friend and was on her phone. She told my son, "Mum says she cannot come get us, so we need to ride with you." My son refused. She handed my son the phone, and my ex was on the line. She demanded that my son give his stepsister and her friend a ride. She was across town getting groceries before the storm got worse. He refused. His stepsister started yelling at him. He ignored her, and they got in the car to leave. She and her friend got in front of the car so he couldn't move. He honked his horn and told them to get the fuck out of the way. They eventually did, and my son left her and her friend at the school. A teacher saw the incident, so we were called by the administration about it. We told them what happened. My sons were not in trouble, but they said, "We need to work out this family conflict." Afterwards, my ex and her husband tried to talk to me and blamed me. I told them, "It isn't my fault y'all raised an entitled brat who no one likes. Y'all have enabled her behavior for years. I've tried to get y'all to address it, but I'm done. Until you stop being a worthless mother and stepdad, I don't want to hear shit from either one of you. D. Your own sons despise you. That is all on you. And then we left. I've not spoken to my ex since. I do feel bad for my daughter because tensions have been high at my ex's house and she is there half the time. Am I the asshole? In the comments, when asked did OP's ex contribute to pay for their son's car, OP says, "My ex did not pay for the car or contribute to it in any way. She does not pay insurance on it or put gas in it. My son has not lived with her in over a year. She does not get to tell my son what to do with that car, period. This is not my ex's car. She does not get to say who can or cannot ride in it. I didn't even know the stepsister's friend who also wanted to ride. My son gets to decide who he trusts to be in a car that he is driving, period. The car is legally mine. It is in my name." OP responds to comments on his son being an asshole for leaving the stepsister and her friends stranded in a snowstorm. School was open and students were directed to wait in the cafeteria until their ride showed up, if they didn't have a car or ride already. I believe she had to wait like 90 minutes for my ex to get there, but the school was open with some teachers and administrators staying until all the kids were picked up. OP explains the setup regarding why his sons and daughters shared a room together at their mother's house while the stepsister had her own space. Here was the setup when my boys lived there. 1. Master bedroom was where my ex and her husband slept. 2. There is a mother-in-law suite with an ensuite bathroom. Stepsister had that. 3. My kids shared room and bathroom. 4. The youngest slept in a little area connected to the master bedroom and used the master bathroom. Now, without my sons there, 1. Stepsister had own bedroom and bathroom. 2. Stepsister has ensuite still. Had that. 3. My daughter and younger daughter share room and bathroom. I'm beginning to see that there is a bit of a golden child dynamic going on here. And I'm with you on this one, OP. Not your kid, not her car, not her rules. That child already has people that are going to be doing those things for her regardless. They should just stick to that plan and not try to shoehorn your son into doing things that he doesn't want to do and shouldn't be forced to do. To me, this just reads like unreasonable people asking unreasonable things from reasonable people. I think that you and your son are very much reasonable, and they refuse to take no for an answer. Well, that's not how life works. You get given a no, and you accept it. If they continue to be unwilling to accept that, I think you got to start implementing some consequences for their ridiculous actions. And now, onto the update. Answers to common questions. 1. It looks like, at least until June 5th, it would be illegal for my son to take his stepsister and her friend home. 2. I'm not going for full custody for my daughter because she is highly attached to her little sister and would be sad not to see her every other week. But I take my daughter to and from school every day. It's across the street from my office. While things are tense at my ex's, it does not appear that she is being treated any differently than before. 3. There are no buses available for my kids, and their stepsister is there on an inter-district transfer. So, for the proper update. A little over a week ago, my ex reached out to try and see what we could compromise on about the situation. I told her there was nothing to compromise about. I explained that until June, he cannot legally take her anyways. I do not want her in the car, and our son does not want her in the car. My ex simply said that it's not doable for her to take her or her dad to take her to school every day. If our son could take her on Tuesdays, they could do the other days. I told her no. This Tuesday, their stepsister demanded a ride. My son told her no, and she pushed him. A teacher saw it, and she is facing possible in-school suspension. Disciplinary issues like this could compromise her inter-district transfer. That is the update. In the comments, OP explains about his state's laws about new drivers, considering his son is 16 years old, and who he can take in his car. OP says, our law is a little different. He can take one passenger or unlimited number of passengers as long as they're in the same household. The law in our state is, if someone 21 or older isn't in the car, then until 16 and a half, he can have one passenger or anyone who was a member of your household. If it was only his stepsister in the car, he could drive her. But obviously he also has his brother with him, and sometimes his sister, so he cannot drive her then. It has nothing to do with the age of the passengers. He generally did not drive friends around. On this occasion, he did drive a friend around, which was illegal. He will not be doing that until June. On June 5th, he is 16 and a half and the restriction is lifted. I do not see it as dying on a hill. The school is 30 minutes from my house. I got the car specifically for school to make my life more convenient. It makes absolutely no sense to not use the car for school. When asked how was the stepsister getting to school prior to OP's son getting his car, OP says, "My ex was taking her. My ex's husband recently had to switch jobs and took a pay cut. My ex does shift work. She's on day shift right now. She wants to switch to afternoon shift because it pays more. If she switches, she cannot pick her up. Most days her husband can run, pick her up, then take her back to work, but apparently they have a weekly team meeting on Tuesdays that would prevent that. This is what she's told me. I have not verified any of it." And now, onto the second update. For some background, on June 5th, my son will be 16 and a half. Because he took driver's ed at that time, there will be no restrictions on the number of passengers he can transport. There is no bus available due to the school being in a different district. Public transport is absolutely terrible where we are, both in terms of safety and time. So, second update. Contrary to popular belief, my son's car was not keyed or anything like that. After the incident in the update, my sons and their stepsister ignored each other at school. Since that incident, my ex has tried to act sweet and kind when we have interacted. All involved schools let out last week for summer. On Monday, I had a meeting run long and I couldn't drop my daughter off at my ex's as I typically do. So I had my son do the drop-off for me. When he got there, my ex asked to talk to him for a minute. She asked if she pays him, if he would agree to take his stepsister to and from school starting in the fall. As mentioned in my comments, my ex had switched shifts so she cannot pick up her daughter from school. Her husband typically has to leave work to get his daughter from the school, and that's what's happened most days. But it's starting to cause issues at his job. My son told her no and came home. That night, she calls me and asked if I would be interested in doing joint family therapy with her and all three of our kids. I told her that before that can happen, she, her husband, and her stepdaughter need to make a full and complete apology to our kids for their treatment over the years. She said, "I do not know if I can make that happen." I told her, "Well, that's what needs to happen before I would consider your proposal. My kids and I already do individual therapy." This morning, she forwarded me some texts from one of her friends who was a teacher at the high school that my ex's stepdaughter would have to attend if she switches schools. She was telling my ex that there are only a few spots left in the few honors/AP courses that sophomores can take. So if the stepdaughter wants to be in those classes, she needs to enroll in the school now. So my ex then said, "I am desperate. I want her to stay where she is at. That is only possible if our oldest son agrees to take her. But if I need to switch schools for her, I need to know now." I responded, "This ain't got shit to do with our kids, and the fact that you are bending yourself into pretzels for stepdaughter is the problem because you do not do that shit for our kids. Do not contact me unless it is about our kids." That is the update. In the comments, "Maybe you already covered this, but where the hell is the stepsister's mother? Why isn't this issue being handled between her bio parents? No one in your household is the arsehole and hasn't been from the beginning." OP says, "Her mum is long gone. Don't know all the details. She calls my ex mum." Downvoted commenter says, "TLDR, it sounds like you're using the children in the middle of your battle. Please don't do that. Don't make your son do anything. Maybe ask him. Try to do it in a way that doesn't betray your hatred. Probably too late on that." OP says, "My son does not want to give her a ride. I do not in any way make that decision for him. He decided that every time it has been asked of him." When asked, can't the ex ask her stepdaughter's friends' parents to help with carpool? OP says, I don't know about the stepkids' friends, but I will say, I looked into carpooling back before my oldest had a car and did not find any options. We live about 20-ish miles from the school, 30 minutes from the school in standard traffic. I ended up just having to take him every day. And when asked what about rideshare in the area, OP says, Ubers are very expensive where we are. I agree with how OP handled this, and I think it was wrong for the stepmother to take on afternoon shifts if she knew that there was a possibility, a very good possibility, that OP was going to say no. He's not going to be doing that. You're not going to force my son to take your daughter to school. That's not happening. I understand why she took on the afternoon shifts, but she did that at the cost of her daughter, her stepdaughter, whatever. These are the consequences of her actions. If she is desperate to make this work, now you get the stepdaughter's friends' parents on board, or you beg and plead for shift work that will allow you to take that child to school. They are your child. They are your responsibility. You're not always going to hear what you want. That's the harsh reality of situations like these. And she might have to swap schools now to somewhere closer as a result of that. It's not fair. But that is the answer that you get in situations like this. Yes, it would be easier if OP's son was willing to do this and make everyone's life easier, but it's not something he wants, and you are not going to force him into doing that. Thank you for the story, OP. Thank you for standing your ground and not giving into undue pressure where you don't need to, make amends, especially if they don't twist themselves into knots for your kids. Why would you do it for theirs? That's a very good point. I agree with you there. Am I the asshole here for saying if my wife wants to be a trad wife, then she must always look her best, wait on me, and provide sex without question when asked? I'm 35 and my wife is 40. We've been together for 15 years. For the last couple of years, she's really fallen down the trad wife black hole, and it's driving me crazy. At first, it started off with her saying that she doesn't want to work anymore, and lately, it's escalated to saying men who make their wives work are abusive. Wow, she sounds hinged. We both have well-paid jobs. I'm a self-employed builder with a team, and I earned around £100,000 a year. She works in management for the NHS and earns around £50,000 a year. We both work. I guess I should say worked, for her, really hard, and have no kids, and 3 years ago managed to pay our mortgage off and lived in a nice enough area where I would have happily stayed forever. She, however, suddenly wanted a massive house that we didn't need. I should have saw what was coming. She was looking at £700,000 houses, which would require a mortgage of £500,000 after we sold our house. I gave in, and we bought a house. She then wanted a new car, which again I caved to, and she got a car that is worth more than she earns a year. She then decided that she didn't want to work anymore. She said her job was crap, and I said to take a lower paid one then that you'll enjoy more. She said no. She just doesn't want to work, full stop. She also doesn't want to give up anything she has. Over the past couple of years, it's been obvious that she's trying to lose her job without leaving, despite me saying that I can't afford the house and car and holidays on my own. She started bringing this trad wife crap up, but said she'd want to hire a cleaner as the house is too big for her to clean alone, and she prefers my cooking to hers, so I'll still do all the cooking. So I said, you basically want to dress up pretty and bake the odd cake. She stormed off and said that I don't get it. She brought it up again yesterday, and I said fine, she can do it, but she's got to get up before me and make sure my breakfast is ready like in the videos she watches. She's got to be dressed as a sexy version of a 50s housewife, like in the videos she watches, from the moment I open my eyes to the moment I close them. The house must be spotless at all times, like in the videos she watches. I want huge packed lunches for work, like in the videos she watches. I want to come home and have beautiful pies and cakes ready for pudding, like in the videos she watches. I want a bath ran when I get back, and then come down to a proper meal every night, like in the videos she watches. I then want a foot rub while I eat the cakes and pies that she makes, like in the videos she watches. I also want sex on demand, how I want it, when I want it, like in the videos she watches. She called me abusive, a user, sexist, etc., and then stormed out to her equally delusional sister's house. Don't get me started on her. I'll be honest, I'm ready for divorce if this carries on. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, Pomegranate number 9003 says, "At least you don't have kids, so divorce is easier. Probably best to do it while you're both still earning well, so there's no question of alimony." Forgot to add, obviously not the asshole. In a traditional household, women don't make no contribution. Their contribution is through domestic labor, while men provide financial value by going out and working. Her contribution would already be below average, given the bulk of the traditional wife's time is spent on children. She wants to make no contribution and is disguising it as a trad wife. Get the divorce, mate. It'll be cheaper and less stressful than dealing with a crazy wife every minute of the day and night. It's not about the trad wife lifestyle. She simply doesn't want to work. She merely wants to sit on her backside, enjoy the things that she's badgered you into paying for, and do nothing. There's a lot of this kind of crazy going around. It won't get any better either. What will it be next? Vacations on the French Riviera? A bigger, nicer, more expensive car? The list goes on and on. OP says, "I'm learning this way, mate. I think a divorce is more likely than anything else at this moment in time. Luckily, she's afraid of flying, so I've managed to avoid the expensive holidays from the odd Eurostar trip to Paris. She makes me feel like a 10-pound millionaire, though, trying to be something we aren't. I know we're better off than most, but we don't earn footballers' money, which is what I think she aspires to." Jedi Fed says, "You were crazy to agree to the 700k house. You'll be okay, but it makes things so much tougher. If she wanted that, why not save up with the old house and then work up to the new one and both of you work together?" OP says, "That's what I suggested. With my job, we could have bought a cheap house, done it up and made some money, and then moved upwards slowly and stayed debt-free. I've modified our house a bit, and it's probably worth 800k now, but it's still not a nice feeling having such a big mortgage and knowing she wants me to cover it alone." I can see why divorce is coming. She is absolutely delusional, and that she doesn't recognize TikTok videos and Instagram tradwife content is not reality. It is a fetish. That is a fetish that people intentionally feed into. And those that get caught up in the fetish and think, wow, this can be a reality, you got something coming to you. Interesting how OP says, well, I want everything beat for beat like it is in the videos, and she says that he's a misogynist, that he is a user, and he is manipulative. He's literally just pointing out what's in those videos. How is she able to separate the two? I don't get it. What is wrong with her? Oh, you want exactly everything from the videos I've been digesting and am asking you to participate in? What is wrong with you? You're a sick and twisted individual. You're delusional, buddy. You're not living in this same reality if you think him saying these things and the videos in question are two separate entities. They are one in the same. I honestly don't blame you if you divorce her, OP. She's not living in our reality. And now, on to the update. I'd like to answer a few questions from my first post before an update. No, my requests were not serious, and I can't believe how many people thought they were. It was me trying to prove a point of how ridiculous she is being. Like I said in the comments, I don't want a maid or a slave, I want a partner. Before my wife got on this train, she was a very ambitious, career-driven person who wanted to climb to the top. She was never really on social media until the pandemic. The tradwife thing started a couple of years ago. A lot of people suggested couples counseling. I've asked many times, and I always get the same response. I don't need counseling. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need a manager. I can't be managed. On to the update. We spoke on Saturday morning, and I told her that I can't go on like this. I said to her bluntly the tradwife thing is never happening, and she either accepts it and we go to couples counseling, or we split up. I'm done dancing around her bullshit. She chose to split up. I asked her if she even really wanted to be a trad wife, or if she's just trying to force me away, like she's trying to force her job to sack her because she doesn't have the balls to quit herself. Oh, them fighting words! She said yes, she does, and there are plenty of dating sites that cater to this dynamic. I told her that I'd seen them, and they're more sugar daddy dynamics, and without being horrible, she's too old for that. This set her off. She said I'm wrong, and that I'm the one who can't support my wife, so I'm the bad one in the marriage, and a real man would be able to give her the life she wants. She was shouting and screaming at the top of her lungs. It's about the only time I've been glad to be in our new house, so the neighbors didn't hear. I got a bit petty at the real man comment and said, "You can't cook, you can't clean, and you don't have sex. What part of being a trad wife do you offer?" I then stole a comment from my last post and said she doesn't want to be a trad wife, she wants to be a trophy wife. She just said I'm unbelievable and has gone to her sisters again. I'm going to take the next couple of weeks and start talking to a divorce lawyer to see what this entails. And then once this ball has got me rolling, I'm effing off to Portugal for a couple of weeks to myself. In the comments, Zealous Ideal Group says, she's 40 and in the UK where there isn't a conservative trad wife or trophy wife culture. She's going to be divorced and on benefits in a shitty bedsit. Take care of yourself, OP, because she's intent on blowing up her life for some reason. Lol, we finally discovered the female version of the midlife dude who wants to open up the marriage because he expects to be drowning in pussy. She's definitely just as out of touch, that's for sure. There are so many posts on socials by women who left the trad movement because it wasn't the empowering, soft life that they thought it was. It leaves them with less autonomy. It leaves them isolated and alone. This is crazy work, and I wish OP well in his new life. As do I. I wish you well in your new life, OP, free from someone that has lost their goddamn mind. If her sister is so insane to also be enabling this behavior, maybe they're just better off together. They can enjoy their little cave of depravity together if they think that the trad wife movement is something to be taken seriously. Because once again, the delusion has struck. Or what is going on with her? Oh yeah, I looked at the sites that cater to the trad wife movement. Looks Inside is actually just sugar baby website. Yeah, no, that's not going to work. I hope for her sake, this divorce snaps her out of it and she just gets a job and gets back to it and picks up where she left off, like I hope anyone does in situations like this. But you never know, and I say good luck to her. Doesn't look like a good time. Thank you for the story, OP. Have a great time in Portugal and enjoy yourself.